Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats so that we can begin. Please be seated. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. We begin the day's work with a consideration of item 8A, devoted to the tentative lists, and to draft decision 39-COM 8A. I will now invite Mr. Balsamo from the World Heritage Center to briefly present the main issues of document WHC 15/39.com/8A. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Document 39-COM 8A presents the tentative list of all state parties submitted in conformity with the operational guidelines as of 15 April 2015. In particular, Annex 1 presents the overall situation relative to tentative lists. Annex 2 of document 8A presents all the new tentative lists or addition to existing which have been submitted by state parties since the World Heritage Committee took note at the last session in Doha. And Annex 3 presents a list of all properties submitted on tentative lists received from state parties in alphabetical and regional order. As of 15 April 2015, of the 191 state parties which had ratified the convention at that date, 179, which is the 94% of state parties, had submitted tentative lists in accordance with the requirements specified in the operational guidelines. 12 state parties had not submitted any tentative list. All nominations submitted for examination in 2015 are included on the tentative lists of the state parties concerned. Since the preparation of document 8A for the 39th session of the committee, until 15 April last, 41 state parties have submitted new tentative lists or modified their existing list. And the number of the new property added to the existing tentative list is 130, which brings the total of sites currently on the tentative list to 1,656. Decision 39-COM 8A is on page 2 of the English version and page 3 of the French version of the document. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo, for your explanation. Now, I would like to invite states parties to express their comments concerning the document with a view to adopting draft decision 39-COM 8A. You have the floor, committee members. There appear to be no takers, in which case I will give the floor to states parties observers. No? If that is the case, then I will pass on to the observers. If not, I will move on to draft decision 39-COM 8A for adoption. If there are no comments, I will move to adoption of 39.8a. Adopted. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to consider the nominations of properties to the World Heritage List. I would like to recall that the relevant working documents concerning nominations are 8B, 8B Core, and 8B.add. The advisory body's evaluations can be found in the information documents. For ICOMOS, it is INF.8B1 and INF.8B1.add. And for the IUCN, the documents are INF.8B2 and INF.8B2.add. Let me recall that document INF.8B3 presents the list of all the nominations received by 1st February 2015 with the indication of those which were deemed complete. These nominations will not be discussed during our debates here, as they are foreseen to be examined at our next committee session in 2016. Document Inf.8B4 presents factual errors identified by states parties in the advisory body evaluations. In accordance with paragraph 150 and Annex 12 of the operational guidelines, the notification of factual errors as submitted by the concerned states parties and reviewed by the relevant advisory body were distributed to you on Monday in the form of an information document and presented in the language in which they have been submitted. It is important to recall that Annex 12 of the operational guidelines is the official format of submission of factual errors identified in the advisory body evaluations. All other kind of material and documentation which could not be verified and properly evaluated by the relevant advisory body should not be taken into account. To this extent, our debates should only deal with what has been notified through the official format. I will now invite the Secretariat to read out the list of nominations for which factual error notifications have been received and to add some explanations. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received factual errors notifications concerning the following nomination to be examined at this session. China, 2 seasides, Denmark, Christiansfeld and Bolivian settlement, Denmark, the Barforce hunting landscape in North Zealand, Denmark, Germany, Iceland, Latvia, Norway, Viking Age sites in Northern Europe, Georgia, Gelati Monastery, Germany, Speicherstadt and Kontorhaus district with Chile House, Germany, the Naumburg Cathedral and the landscape of the river Saale and Strut, Iran, cultural landscapes of Maimand, Israel, Bet Sharim Necropolis, Jamaica, Blue and John Crow Mountains, Japan, sites of Japan's Meiji Industrial Revolution, Mexico, aqueduct of Padre Tembleque, Mongolia, Great Barkhan Kaldon Mountain, Mongolia, Russian Federation, landscapes of Doria, Norway, Ryukang Notre Dame Industrial Heritage Site, Republic of Korea, Baekje historic areas, Saudi Arabia, rock art in the Hale region of Saudi Arabia, Spain, roots of Santiago in northern Spain, Turkey, Ephesus, Turkey, the Abakir Fortress and Elsel Garden cultural landscape, United Kingdom, the Fourth Bridge, United States of America, San Antonio Mission, and Vietnam, Phong Nha Kem Bang National Park. Before the presentation of the concerned nomination by the advisory bodies, the Secretariat will announce the related factual error notification received. And if the notification of factual errors has an impact on the proposed statement of OUV, the amendment is already included on the text that will be shown on the screen. Only notification received by the statutory deadline and submitted in the appropriate form of Annex 12 of the operational guidelines have been made available in document Inf 8B4. The advisory body's comments are included in the right column of this document. And it is important to note that by making compulsory the use of Annex 12 of the operational guidelines for the notification of factual errors, the committee wished to avoid the circulation of all other kind of documentation concerning nomination that under the current procedure could not be verified. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. Are there any objections? I do not see any objections, in which case we will move on now to the next item on our agenda. Let's now move to the first draft decision concerning this item, which concerns proposed changes to names of properties already inscribed on the World Heritage List. I will again invite Mr. Balsamo to present this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this session of the committee, we received just one request for change to the name of property already inscribed on the World Heritage List. The request comes from Czech Republic and deals with Olaszowice Historical Village Reservation, inscribed on the World Heritage List in 1998. The committee is asked to approve the proposed name change, which becomes Olaszowice Historic Village in English and Village Historique d'Olaszowice in French. The related draft decision, 39Com8B1, is on page 1 of both the English and French version of the document 8B. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. Are there any objections to the name change request? If none, I will declare now the draft decision 39Com8B1 adopted. Adopted. Our next point on the agenda, item 8B, deals with withdrawals and postponements of nominations to be examined by the committee at this session. I invite Mr. Balsamo to read out the list of the nominations withdrawn or postponed at the request of the concerned states parties. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two nominations were withdrawn prior to this committee session and after the publication of document 8B. Austria, Hall Interior of the Mint, and Romania, Monumental Ensemble of Târgu Ghiu. And two nominations have been postponed. Iraq, the Hawar of Southern Iraq, refuge of biodiversity and the related landscape of the Mesopotamian cities, and India, Delhi's imperial capital cities. Following these withdrawals and postponement, the committee will have to examine 36 nominations, among them 5 are for natural sites, 1 for mixed site, and 30 for cultural sites. And let me take this opportunity also to remind you that the complete PDF version of all the nominations which are examined at this session have been installed and could be consulted on 3 computers that are just behind this plenary room. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. Are there any comments? There do not appear to be any, in which case I will now move on to the examination of nominations of natural, mixed, and cultural properties to the World Heritage List. As we begin with the examination of the nominations, I would like to take this opportunity to recall 2 essential procedures concerning nominations to be examined. First, as you may recall, the committee is requested to examine the recommendations and draft decisions presented in the relevant documents and, in accordance with paragraph 153 of the operational guidelines, take its decisions following 4 categories. The committee may decide to inscribe a property on the World Heritage List, para 154 of the operational guidelines. The committee may decide that a property should not be inscribed on the World Heritage List, para 158 of the operational guidelines. The committee may decide to refer back a nomination to the state party for additional information, para 159 of the operational guidelines, and the committee may decide to defer a nomination for more in-depth assessment or study or a substantial revision by the state party, paragraph 160 of the operational guidelines. In particular, nominations which the committee decides to refer back to the state party for additional information may be resubmitted to the following committee session for examination. For a referred nomination, there is no new nomination file to be prepared, and there is no evaluation mission of the relevant advisory body foreseen to the property. If the committee decides to defer a nomination, it means that an in-depth assessment or study or a substantial revision of the nomination file by the state party is needed. Therefore, a new nomination should be submitted, and the site will have the opportunity of being re-evaluated by the relevant advisory body during the full year and a half evaluation cycle, according to the procedures and timetable outlined in paragraph 168 of the operational guidelines. Secondly, on the specific issue of submission of additional information on nominations, I would like to recall point H of paragraph 148, as well as the nomination timetable of paragraph 168 of the operational guidelines, which establishes that the evaluations and presentations of the advisory bodies should not take into account or include any information submitted by the state party after 28 February in the year in which the nomination is considered. We can now proceed with the examination of nominations. This year, we will begin with natural nominations, followed by mixed and then cultural. The order of the examination of nominations is listed on page 4 of the working document 8B, and I would kindly ask you to stick to this order to the extent possible. I would wish to add here that a list has just been circulated, which you may wish to peruse through. For ease of reference, the page numbers in the advisory body evaluation documents are also shown in the PowerPoint presentations. I am now going to call on ICOMOS and IUCN to be concise in their presentations, as you will be allocated only 6 to 10 minutes to present each nomination, depending on its category. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. We will now start with the first nomination, which is South Africa, the Cape Floral Region Protected Areas, extension of the property, Cape Floral Region Protected Areas, draft decision 39Com 8B2. I will now invite the IUCN to present the extension of this nomination. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN's evaluation of this property is on page 3 of both the English and the French versions of IUCN evaluation report, document inf.8b2. Next slide, please. The existing Cape Floral Region Protected Areas property was inscribed on the World Heritage List in 2004 under criteria 9 and 10. Following inscription, several committee decisions have encouraged an extension to include additional areas of value. If approved, the extended Syria property would cover over 1 million hectares, representing approximately 6% of the total extent of the Cape Floral region, and almost doubling the extent of the originally inscribed site. Many of the areas proposed for addition are in the current buffer zone. This would reduce the size of the buffer zone, but it remains a significant area of nearly 800,000 hectares. Next, please. The Cape Floral region is an exceptionally important region for plant biodiversity. It's one of the 6 floral kingdoms of the world, by far the smallest and richest in species relative to its size, and is one of the 35 global terrestrial biodiversity hotspots. Although it represents less than 0.5% of the area of Africa, the Cape Floral region is home to nearly 20% of the continent's flora. The property's 13 clusters and the component parts have been rigorously selected to provide enhanced representation of the Cape Floral region's phytogeographic centers and the biological, ecological, and evolutionary processes associated with fine-boss vegetation. The addition significantly increased the number of fine-boss vegetation types under World Heritage protection. Next, please. The extension, like the currently inscribed property, is nominated under natural criteria 9 and 10. The property is considered of outstanding universal value for its ecological representation of the processes associated with the evolution of the unique fynbos biome and its associated fauna. Of particular scientific interest are the adaptations of plants to fire and other natural disturbances, the pollination biology linked to birds, mammals, and insects, seed dispersal by ants and termites, and high levels of adaptive radiation and speciation. Next, please. The proposed extension areas add significant endemic and threatened species values to the existing site, including over 400 fynbos species that are strictly endemic to these areas. An extraordinary 69% of the estimated 9,000 plant species in this region are endemic, with around 1,700 plant species identified as threatened and more than 3,000 species of conservation concern. Next, please. All of the proposed extension is legally protected and correspond with state and provincial protected areas managed by 3 authorities: South African National Parks, Cape Nature and Eastern Cape Parks, and Tourism Agency. The buffer zones, critical to the connectivity of this series of fragmented protected lands, are made up of designated mountain catchment areas and other legally protected areas. Next, please. The components all have management plans which include zoning. However, the serial property requires an overall management strategy. An environmental management framework is now being commissioned, and the state party indicates that work on this will start this year. A joint management committee was created in 2010 and helps to coordinate the activities of the 3 authorities. However, it could be more effective overseeing the implementation of the proposed management framework. Invasive alien species, fire, water extraction issues, and climate change are the greatest threats to the property. However, all are well understood and addressed in the planning and management. Next. IUCN therefore considers that the nominated property meets natural criteria 9 and 10, as well as integrity, protection, and management requirements, and thus recommends that the committee approves the extension of Cape Flora region protected areas and welcomes the response to its past recommendations. Next. The draft decision is set out on page 5 of both the English and the French versions of Working Document 8B. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, IUCN. I will now throw the floor open to committee members. You have the floor. I do not see any committee members wishing to take the floor. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India would like to compliment the State Party of South Africa for proposing extension of a serial nomination covering 500,000 hectares of Cape Flora region, which is globally recognized as one of the 6 floral kingdoms of the world and amongst the hottest hotspots for biodiversity conservation. India would also like to convey its appreciation of the fact that to facilitate effective management of the now over 1 million hectare of the property, the Director General of Environmental Affairs, South Africa, will be the single responsible authority. And this is a major step as far as this nomination is concerned in terms of its management. And finally, ma'am, India would support the draft decision to extend the serial nomination of Cape Flora region under criteria 9 and 10. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, India. Senegal, followed by Portugal. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Sénégal se félicite également de cette extension. Elle renforce les valeurs du site, qui est un site exceptionnel, mais en même temps, nous avons retenu les recommandations de l'UICN par rapport un peu à cette stratégie globale de gestion, et l'État partie est déjà engagé, et au niveau institutionnel, un cadre est déjà en train d'être mis en place, un cadre environnemental de gestion, et nous félicitons l'État partie pour aller dans ce sens et respecter les recommandations de l'UICN par rapport à la gestion. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Senegal. Portugal, you have the floor, followed by Germany. Portugal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and a very good morning to you and to all the committee. We also wish to commend and congratulate the State Party for this important extension of this remarkable property. Indeed, the Cape Floral Region protected areas is without doubt one of the richest areas of floral plants in the world. And we praise South Africa for the comprehensive and inclusive preparation of this renomination through participative and wide-ranging consultation. We are confident that the State Party will fully address the remaining management challenges in an effective and single coordinated manner for all inscribed components of the property, and we support this decision. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We give the floor now to Germany, followed by Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Germany thanks South Africa for having brought forward this very well-planned extension of the Syria property of the Cape Floral Region protected areas. By reviewing the boundaries and with this significantly increasing the important fine-boss vegetation types protected, this proposed extension not only strengthens the property's integrity but also adds to the OUB. So Germany happily supports the draft decision. However, we would like to raise one question for clarification only to IUCN. Para 6 and Para 7 have different dates for delivering A, the environmental management framework, which, as we understand, is the integrated management plan of the overall property to the World Heritage Center, and B, the SOC report, including the finalization of this plan. Can IUCN please clarify if these paragraphs speak of the same plan? And if yes, why there are different dates? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Germany, for that question. IUCN will respond to that after we are through with all the states parties. I will now give the floor to Philippines, followed by Turkey. Philippines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Philippines supports the adoption of the draft decision and commends the state party's resolve to have the extended property inscribed in the World Heritage List. We congratulate the state party on their initiative, which seeks to strengthen the property's integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippines. Turkey, you have the floor, followed by Colombia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is no need to emphasize further how important this property with respect to criteria 9 and 10, the previous speakers and the IUCN already mentioned. This is a good example of how a state could improve the integration, and those fragmented cluster protected area could be well connected, biologically used. So this is a great effort done by the state party, which we commend and congratulate South Africa for this nice work, and we adapt the or we support the draft decision. Again, congratulations to South Africa.
Thank you very much, Turkey. Colombia, you have the floor, followed by Qatar.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Colombia quiere unirse a las felicitaciones al país Sudáfrica por haber hecho este esfuerzo con el cual se logra una mejor conectividad de este importantísimo y espectacular sitio, y considera que esta ampliación es complementaria a las medidas efectivas necesarias para garantizar la integridad del sitio, especialmente en la protección a la diversidad de fauna y flora, características de esta región sudafricana, por cuanto tendrá un área suficiente, bien conectada y con mecanismos de amortiguación bien definidos. Queremos reiterar también la importancia de que Sudáfrica siga las recomendaciones hechas por la UICN sobre el fortalecimiento de ciertos mecanismos, pero sobre todo felicitamos enormemente a Sudáfrica y aprobamos la decisión como está planteada. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Colombia. Qatar, you have the floor, followed by Lebanon. Qatar.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Qatar voudrait aussi remercier l'IUCN pour son travail. Nous félicitons l'Afrique du Sud d'avoir proposé cette extension qui est en effet un enrichissement du patrimoine mondial dans le domaine pour les sites naturels. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Qatar. Lebanon, you have the floor, followed by the Republic of Korea. Lebanon.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Ce dossier des aires protégées de la région florale du Cap est un dossier extrêmement important. J'ai eu l'occasion de visiter en 2005 le site, qui est un site effectivement extraordinaire, et l'extension lui donne une dimension et permet de renforcer la synergie à l'intérieur même de ce site. La question que je voudrais soulever, c'est le rapport. Bon, il s'agit d'un site naturel, bien évidemment, mais il y a une synergie très claire entre ce site-là et le patrimoine urbain de la ville du Cap. Dans une perspective des paysages urbains historiques, les Hull Recommendations, je pense qu'il serait intéressant que l'État partie commence à réfléchir un peu aux synergies qui peuvent exister entre ce site classé et le patrimoine historique de la ville du Cap, le patrimoine urbain de la ville du Cap, parce que ça fait partie intégrante. Merci.
Thank you very much, Lebanon. We have the Republic of Korea now, followed by Kazakhstan. Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Republic of Korea would like to full-heartedly congratulate the State Party of South Africa for the hard work that they have put in for expanding the boundaries of an already inscribed site and welcomes the expansion of the site. We have to recognize that such major modifications of boundaries require much work of the State Party, which cannot be undertaken without strong commitments of the government on ensuring the good conservation of the issues. Korea recognizes the enhanced value of the site achieved through the expanded boundaries of the property by almost twice its original size, by increasing the number of the vegetation types and adding value to its biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Republic of Korea. Kazakhstan, you have the floor, followed by Algeria. Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kazakhstan congratulates South Africa with the extension of this unique natural site. We thank IUCN for a comprehensive report and the State Party for cooperation with advisory bodies in the process of evaluation. We support the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Algeria, you have the floor, followed by Malaysia. Algeria.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La délégation algérienne félicite l'État partie pour la qualité du travail effectué qui a nécessité, nous sommes certains, des efforts considérables pour offrir à l'humanité cette biodiversité remarquable qui participe à la protection environnementale mondiale. Nous appuyons l'inscription de ce bien sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, Algeria. Japan, you have the floor, followed by Croatia. Japan. Oh, my mistake. Prior to Japan, it's Malaysia. Malaysia, you have the floor, followed by Japan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malaysia would also like to join the other World Heritage Committee members to take this opportunity to congratulate the State Party of South Africa for this approval of extension, which we believe would enhance the protection and conservation of the floral region of the World Heritage Community. And for that, we support the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Japan, the floor is yours, followed by Croatia.
Cape Floral region is a globally unique area full of distinctive flowers, fynbos, and this is a long-awaited extension. We would like to commend the State Party for its continuous effort for the protection of the property as well as the enhancement of the integrity. We welcome and support this extension of the serial property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Croatia, followed by Finland. Croatia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are also taking this opportunity to congratulate South Africa for all efforts done in extension of the already existing World Heritage Site. And we are also recognize the commitment of the State Party to continue cooperation on improvement of the management of the site. Croatia is supporting the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finland, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, Finland joins the other members of the committee and wishes to express our warmest congratulations to the State Party of South Africa. We are pleased to note the strengthening of the property's integrity through this significant extension for the protection of the endemic flora. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Finland. That completes my speakers list. I will revert back to IUCN now to clarify the point that was raised by Germany. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the delegates of Germany for that question. The clarification is that, yes, in fact, the environmental management framework is one and the same thing. So, indeed, there is some concern, I guess, inconsistency in the logic of the two paragraphs in the decision in terms of time frame. However, I think I would point out that the environmental management framework has been called for since 2004 and is a long-standing need for the property. The State Party have advised that process has started, but there are some intricacies with it in terms of the stage of various individual management plans, the sequencing, and the fact that there are levels of framework already existing over subcomponents of the property, noting that there are 3 different management agencies concerned with the protected areas. Thank you.
Thank you, IUCN. If Germany is satisfied, and I can see the ambassador nodding, I will turn now to our rapporteur and request him to let us know whether any amendments on the draft decision proposed have been received by him.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. In fact, yes, I received one amendment proposed by Senegal on paragraph 6 of this item of the agenda, and the amendment consists of, so in paragraph 6, the WHC requests the State Party to complete the environmental management framework and submit a copy to the World Heritage Center. The original paragraph used to state that it should be done before February the 1st, 2017. Senegal asked for an extension of 1 year, and the deadline would become February the 1st, 2018. That was the only amendment. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I can see Germany is raising their flag. Germany, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thanks, Senegal. I think that speaks to the same inconsistency what IUCN has just clarified. But for not creating another inconsistency, I would then propose, rather than taking 1st February 2018, taking 1st December 17, so we get both plans, which is in fact the same plan as IUCN pointed out, both in December 17, which is then the proper date for proper review, and then getting back the whole issue to the committee in summer 2018. I think if this would be acceptable to Senegal, that would, I think, help to clarify the inconsistencies we just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Germany, for that. Senegal, is this okay with you?
Merci, Madame la Présidente. L'État partie est déjà engagé dans le processus de ce cadre de gestion environnementale. Il a un agenda. Il y a des agences, il y a des structures qui travaillent avec l'État partie et qui ont planifié, parce que quand même avec l'extension, l'État partie a besoin d'avoir une stratégie globale de gestion avec l'extension. Et c'est pour ça que l'État partie a demandé à ce qu'on diffère d'1 an. Je pense qu'on ne peut pas décider à la place de l'État partie. C'est l'État partie qui a sa planification interne et qui a, avec toutes ces structures techniques et institutionnelles, proposé qu'il y ait ce léger différé pour permettre d'avoir une stratégie de gestion globale, intégrant la partie qui va être concernée par l'extension. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Senegal. We heard you very clearly, but since we have to find common ground, since the German proposal only requests a minor adjustment in dates, would this be acceptable in the nature of finding common ground quickly? No? You have the floor.
Est-ce que, Madame la Présidente, avec votre permission, on peut donner la parole à l'État partie, qui est représenté également par son ministre qui s'est déplacé pour cela. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. We give the floor now to South Africa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We take this opportunity to thank the government of Germany for the great hospitality extended to all the delegates attending this session. We further thank the committee for allowing the State Party of South Africa to address them on the occasion of the approval of the extension of the Cape Floral Region Protected Areas World Heritage Site. Since we ratified the convention, we, as a State Party, have made significant strides in ensuring that our heritage is not only shared with the world, but also managed to the highest standards.
May I interrupt you to point out to you that this property has not yet been inscribed, and may we request you to respond to the question that was posed, specifically to the question that was posed on the dates, the German proposal, and then the response by Senegal, the response of South Africa on that. Thank you. You may proceed with your response.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are of the view that the time difference between what is proposed by Senegal and Germany is just a matter of 2 months. So we would then agree with the proposal from Germany to harmonize the reporting to this committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, South Africa. Deeply appreciated. And now I will revert to the IUCN, who will come in at this point. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, it's just to clarify that the December date as well. The committee might recall that for state of conservation reports, we've adopted a standard now that for reports that are not requested the following year, we ask for the reports for the 1st of December prior to the committee, just so that it allows more time for dialogue and discussion up to the following session. So it's good to also hear the consensus with South Africa, but the 1st of December 2017 would indeed be the correct date, and it would not help to have a later submission of the management plan than the general state of conservation report. So we would also support the 1st of December 2017 in both paragraphs. Thank you.
Thank you, IUCN. I take it that there's agreement all around the German proposal and very gracefully accepted by South Africa. So I will proceed now to draft decision 39-8B2, and if there are no further comments, I will move to adopt that decision with the amendment as proposed. Adopted. Let me warmly congratulate South Africa on behalf of the entire community for the extension of this property. South Africa, you have the floor for a brief 2-minute statement. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. South Africa is delighted to add more protected areas to our portfolio of the World Heritage properties. The country has, in the last few years, learned a few lessons in the management of our World Heritage sites, and have, through our engagement with the committee and the advisory bodies, achieved high standards of conservation to levels expected by the UNESCO. We have also forged very close working relations with the advisory bodies in ensuring that our World Heritage properties are sustainably managed. As a state party to the World Heritage Convention, South Africa takes its responsibilities very seriously, and this extension further demonstrates our commitment to ensuring that those areas in our territory which possesses outstanding universal value are not only protected, but also shared with the world. The Cape Floral region is a very special place, as you have seen during the IUCN presentation of this property. The Cape Floral region is one of the richest areas for plants when compared to any similar size area in the world. Some 69% of the estimated 9,000 plant species in the regions are endemic. I assure you, Madam Chair, on behalf of the State Party of South Africa, that we will spare no effort in ensuring that these World Heritage properties that we continue to nominate are managed in accordance with the highest standards. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, South Africa. Moving now to Sudan. The Sanganeb Marine National Park and Dungonab Bay, Mukavar Island Marine National Park. I will turn now to the IUCN to make a presentation. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN's evaluation of this property is on page 15 of the English version and page 17 of the French version of IUCN evaluation report. Next. A smaller part of this property, the Sanganeb Atoll, was nominated more than 30 years ago in 1983. At the time, IUCN concluded positively on the value of this site, but noted the opportunity to add nearby areas of value and raised concerns about the lack of adequate legal protection. The World Heritage Bureau subsequently deferred the nomination. The marine national parks of Sanganeb and Dungonab Bay lie within an ecological transition zone on the western shore of the Red Sea. The total area covered by these two parks is approximately 200,000 hectares, with an additional buffer zone of just over 400,000 hectares. Next, please. The nominated property and its buffer zone cover an expanse of coastline and marine area, which includes significant reef formations and the only atoll-like structure in the Red Sea. To the north, it includes a large bay with islands, islets, and some of the most northerly coral reefs in the world, providing a home to species at the limits of the global range. Next. Sanganeb and Dungonab Bay lie within a relatively undisturbed area and display impressive natural phenomena and areas of great natural beauty. However, a number of the features of significant value lie outside of the nominated area within the buffer zone of the property. Next, please. The property is nominated under all four natural criteria: the clear visibility of the water, pristine habitats, coral and marine species diversity, contrasted against a backdrop of the Red Sea hills, rising of over 1,500 meters above sea level, create a striking land and seascape. However, the terrestrial areas, which are intrinsic to the aesthetics of Dungonab Bay, are not included in the nominated area. Next, please. While Sanganeb Atoll is the only atoll-like feature contained in the Red Sea, the origins are not currently thought to be linked to tectonic plate movements or volcanics, and the basis for possible application of Criterion 8 is therefore not clear. Geological features which are argued to be of OUV are represented in a range of other areas, and that Criterion 8 is not the most appropriate focus for the nomination. Next. Regarding biodiversity, the area nominated and its surroundings correspond to a priority biogeographic region and priority marine province, which have been identified as gaps on the list. It's part of a larger transition area between northern and southern Red Sea biogeographic zones, and thus exhibits diverse and mostly undisturbed habitats, which are outstanding examples of the northernmost tropical coral reef system on Earth. The area provides habitat for impressive population of seabirds, marine mammals such as dugong, fish, corals, sharks, manta rays, and marine turtles. Dungonab Marine National Park is recognized as an important bird area for both resident and migratory birds. Again, however, there appear to be significant areas within the buffer zone which should be considered for inclusion in a reconfigured nomination with a stronger case for OUV under criterion 9 and 10. Next. Both marine parks have been declared as national marine protected areas with the main responsibility for management assigned to the Federal Wildlife Conservation General Administration. The evaluations raise substantial concerns that staffing levels, capacity, and funding are considered inadequate to cope with current and future management. Next. In IUCN views, whilst potential for future listing is clear, this nomination needs review to meet the standards set in the operational guidelines. Whilst the 2 marine national parks have been designed or designated buffer zone, these are technically outside of the legally protected area. A considered review should be undertaken of the site's design to assess the feasibility of including more of the current buffer zone areas within a reconfigured nomination. Next. In summary, IUCN considers that this property has potential to meet criteria 7, 9, and 10. However, a redesign of the boundaries is needed to ensure all the attributes contributing to OUV are included and that integrity, protection, and management issues are addressed. Next. The draft decision is set out on page 6 of both the English and French versions of Working Document 8B. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, IUCN. I will now throw the floor open to committee members to express their views. India is first off the mark. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India would first like to compliment the State Party of Sudan for bringing forward the agenda of marine conservation by proposing inscription of 2 marine national parks on the World Heritage List, which is a globally deficient area. India also appreciates the legal commitment which has been demonstrated by the State Party by enabling a series of laws which govern various aspects, including wildlife protection, fisheries, shipping, and water quality. This is a great achievement on part of the State Party. And finally, India would like to raise a question to the State Party, seeking a little more clarification on the serial approach that has been adopted by them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. I will now move on to the speakers list. Algeria, Finland, Qatar, and Colombia. Algeria, you have the floor, followed by Finland.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous remercions l'UICN pour l'excellent rapport établi sur ce bien, un bien très documenté et détaillé qui nous renseigne sur la valeur exceptionnelle qu'il présente. Voilà 3 décennies que ce bien a été soumis pour inscription et a fait l'objet d'une décision de différé en raison d'une protection juridique insuffisante. Il nous revient aujourd'hui avec des améliorations qui nous donnent un point de vue sur la détermination de l'État partie, soutenu par les communautés locales, d'en assurer l'inscription et nous les félicitons pour les efforts déployés dans ce sens. Madame la Présidente, la délégation algérienne, reconnaissant l'intérêt de protéger ce bien dont la biodiversité d'intérêt mondial est reconnue, a présenté un amendement sollicitant un renvoi de ce bien, un renvoi de ce dossier par le comité pour permettre à l'État partie de mettre en œuvre les recommandations de l'UICN, notamment la révision des limites du bien et de la zone tampon. Nous souhaitons, Madame la Présidente, avec votre permission, entendre l'État partie pour nous expliquer quels sont les efforts qui ont été effectués dans le sens d'une protection et entendre également l'UICN sur l'amendement proposé par l'Algérie concernant la zone tampon et les délimitations. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Algeria. We will accede to both of your requests, but after all the committee members have made their comments. So Finland, followed by Qatar.
Madam Chair, Finland has carefully studied both the nomination file and the evaluation report. We are convinced that this site belongs on the World Heritage List because it's an important marine site which will fill an identified gap on the World Heritage List in the Red Sea region. We share the view of the IUCN that the boundaries of the property do not sufficiently cover all the elements needed for the conservation of the outstanding universal value. However, the State Party of Sudan has recently informed us from it could be possible to do the necessary boundary modifications. In this light, Finland has come to the conclusion that we could support referral instead of deferral with certain conditions. Firstly, we asked the State Party of Sudan to confirm that they are willing to do the boundary modifications as requested in close cooperation with the IUCN. Secondly, there should be a set time frame for the preparation of the joint management plan and the tourism management plan. Finally, we would like to congratulate the government of Sudan for its great efforts to protect and nominate this magnificent marine site. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Finland. I will give the floor now to Qatar, followed by Colombia.
We have carefully reviewed the technical evaluation report by the advisory body, and I personally look back to 40 years of continuous research in this area. And we conclude that only part of the relevant research has been considered. There are several decades of research in Sanganeb, Dunganab, Mukawar Island and adjacent areas of the Sudanese Red Sea, and only part of this has been taken into consideration. In addition, the document contains a number of factual errors. The global importance of the property is underestimated. The outstanding universal values are beyond doubt. The advisory body states that the property has the potential to meet natural criteria 7, 9 and 10. We are of the opinion that criterion 8, as proposed by the State Party, also applies. Sanganeb is a globally unique geomorphic feature. While we agree that boundaries and buffer zones need some revision, it is unclear why the advisory body wishes to include in the property Wingate, a relatively degraded reef in the vicinity of the Port Sudan port approach channel, while no mention is made of the more complex and diverse Sha'abrumi, which is an icon in the global history of marine research. The relevant scientific information is available, and we propose, follow the State Party of Finland, referral rather than deferral. This will allow the State Party of Sudan to make a stronger case for criteria 7, 8, 9 and 10, address integrity issues, make adjustments to the boundaries and buffer zones with support of ICN, which we consider very important, to initiate the updates in and the integration of the existing master and management plans, incorporating a stronger sustainable tourism component. And all this can be done as a desktop exercise. The information is available. This is why we propose referral. Given the currently low pressure on the property and the support by the local communities, plus the important role of the Sanganeb Lighthouse crew in the enforcement of existing regulations, a gradual increase in management and enforcement capacity by the State Party will be adequate. We have submitted a proposal for an amendment to the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Qatar. I will now give the floor to Colombia, followed by Turkey. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Colombia quiere unirse a la posición de Finlandia y Qatar, comenzando también por felicitar al Estado parte por este extraordinario sitio y las medidas de conservación que ellos han desarrollado. Es muy importante lo que anota la UICN y el ejercicio que ha hecho la UICN para identificar los sitios que aún faltan por incluirse en la lista de patrimonio, siendo este uno de ellos. Por lo tanto, sugerimos invitar al Estado parte, al Comité y a la UICN a acelerar el proceso de aprobación de la nominación, que puede significar el aumento de los recursos hoy por hoy limitados y que sorprendentemente no han sido una limitante para mantener el sitio en el estado de conservación en que se encuentra. Por lo tanto, también estamos de acuerdo con la posición de referral. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much, Colombia. Turkey, followed by Portugal. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We also thoroughly examined the files, both from IUCN and also the state files. We believe that this is the greatest representation of the coral reef in the most northern part, not only latitude-wise, but also it is very unique environment. All the issues raised, such as integration and management parts, especially integration, considering the state commitments since 1983, the site didn't lose any value, outstanding universal value, even though it's not in the World Heritage List. So we see the state has a commitment and long-lasting protection experience. Just like my colleague from Finland indicated, I think this site deserves to be in the World Heritage List, and we recommend that the deferral should be changed, referral. Again, our consultation with the state party, all these integration and management issues could be handled within a year. If state requires, maybe advisory mission could be made to the site, and so we like to see this site should be inscribed as soon as possible in the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you, Turkey. Portugal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Like the previous speakers, we would also support the referral of this dossier. Furthermore, because the State Party has indeed given us assurances that they will abide by the recommendations made. I wish to also to mention that we subscribe to additional comments made by Finland concerning management and other issues. I thank you.
Thank you, Portugal. I will now read out the speakers list. Senegal, Poland, Malaysia, Lebanon, Kazakhstan, Serbia, Japan, Philippines, Germany. Senegal, you have the floor, followed by Poland.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous nous rallions à ce qu'ont dit les États parties, Finlande, Qatar, Algérie. Et après avoir étudié ce dossier, nous nous rendons compte quand même qu'un travail extraordinaire a été accompli depuis des décennies, et surtout que le bien proposé présente de manière incontestable une valeur universelle exceptionnelle. De notre point de vue d'ailleurs, rien ne se serait vraiment opposé à son inscription. Mais comme l'État partie, en concertation avec de nombreux partenaires, a fait des propositions allant dans un autre sens, nous pensons qu'on peut les suivre. Mais je voudrais quand même que vous me permettiez de relever quelque chose qui, à mon avis, est extrêmement grave dans le rapport d'évaluation. Jusqu'à présent, j'avais des doutes, maintenant j'ai une conviction. C'est-à-dire qu'un pays qui n'a pas les moyens de gérer comme c'est souhaité ne peut pas inscrire son bien. Voilà ce que dit le rapport. Et j'aimerais vraiment qu'on partage cela. Au point C, il est dit ceci: démontrer de manière significative que les ressources financières et les capacités en personnel ont été considérablement accrues pour garantir une gestion efficace du bien proposé et donner au comité du patrimoine mondial l'assurance que les engagements à maintenir le financement durable, permanent, seront tenus. Je ne pense pas que cela ait une quelconque relation avec une valeur universelle exceptionnelle. C'est ça que nous célébrons. Si on commence maintenant à dire que si vous n'avez pas de capacité de gestion, on ne va pas classer vos sites, on est en train d'instruire et d'implémenter une espèce de suffrage censitaire, c'est-à-dire seuls les pays qui ont les moyens de gérer leurs sites vont pouvoir les classer parce qu'ils répondent aux high standards qui ont été imposés par les organisations consultatives. Je pense que nous sommes en train d'atteindre là une ligne rouge qui est rédhibitoire à la promotion d'une liste du patrimoine mondial équilibrée et représentative. Merci.
Thank you very much, Senegal. Poland, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I will be brief. Poland also supports the position presented by previous speakers, like Finland, Qatar, Colombia, or Portugal. In our opinion, this decision should be changed from deferral to referral, and we are also of the opinion that there should be send a mission before changes in the boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Malaysia, followed by Lebanon. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Malaysian delegates would like to commend the effort addressed by the state party in the last 2 decades with regard to the recommendation by the advisory bodies. In the similar breath, we would like to extend our thanks to IUCN for the excellent and sincere report, but recognizing the importance of the site of this nature in the region, which represent a big gap. We felt the report by the advisory body was a little underestimated, but nevertheless, we understand the problem faced by the state party. There has been coordination between the federal government, the state government, or the provincial government, and also the local communities with regard to the recommendation. And I think with regard to also to the extension of the boundaries of the site, this could be negotiated quite well. We support the proposal by Finland, Qatar, and others for the referral. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Lebanon, the floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. À la lecture du rapport complet et détaillé de l'IUCN concernant le parc national marin de Sanganeb et celui de la baie de Dongonab, nous voyons clairement que ce site a une valeur universelle exceptionnelle et que les critères 7, 9 et 10 s'appliquent à ce site, peut-être également le critère 8. Les problèmes des limites se posent, bien évidemment. Au vu des contacts faits avec l'État partie et sa disponibilité à travailler avec la IUCN pour modifier les limites et travailler sur un plan de gestion plus développé pour l'ensemble du site, nous appuyons la proposition faite par la Finlande, par le Qatar et par d'autres États parties de faire un referral au lieu du deferral. Merci.
Thank you very much. We have Kazakhstan, followed by Serbia. Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We welcome the state party's efforts to legally protect the property, improve cooperation, and for collaboration initiatives to engage local communities in the management of this area. And we thank also IUCN for a comprehensive report. We support Finland, Qatar, Colombia, Turkey, Portugal, Lebanon, and stand for qualifying this nomination for referral. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Serbia, followed by Japan. Serbia.
Madam Chair, we support the proposal of the referral, but we would just want to emphasize the unique importance of this site, which in much respect is one of the unique in the world, if not the only one where perhaps the bleaching is not going on. So the responsibility of the state party is very high. Fortunately, the state party has already shown the responsibility, and we just want to emphasize that this referral is close to the deferral, and the state part should not forget that in order to facilitate the work of the committee at the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Serbia. Japan, followed by Philippines. Japan.
Yes. We support Finland. Government of Japan believes that this should be referral. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that briefest of brief Philippines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Philippines notes with appreciation the legislative efforts of the state party has undertaken to ensure protection of the property. Such legislative safeguards, coupled with enhanced interagency communication, are vital to ensure protection of the property's high level of biodiversity, including northerly coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangroves, which are at the limits of their global range and evolutionary expansion, endemic and endangered species. It must be noted that the two marine protected areas demonstrate the principle of habitat connectivity, which is a key factor sustaining the integrity of the marine ecosystem where they occur. Increasing coastal populations, rapid development, human exploitation, and increasing frequency of use of the nearby waters for transshipment of petroleum threaten the sustainability of the property. And echoing the views of the distinguished delegations of Finland and Qatar, the Philippines supports a decision to refer the examination of the nomination, noting the particular need to update the management plans. With this scenario, the Philippines recommends that the two marine parks adopt a common property protection plan anchored on the principles of, among others, co-management, transdisciplinarity, capacity building, and community involvement. These pillars or principles are the pillars of sustainability that ensure a functional resilience, not just of the marine ecosystems, which provide the necessary protection from the impacts of local and global change, but also of the coastal communities that depend for survival upon services of the ecosystems. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Germany, followed by Jamaica. Germany.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Germany can join the previous speakers who have proposed to refer the nomination, and we we can join the arguments given by inter alia by Finland, Qatar, Turkey, and others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Germany. Jamaica, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we wish to congratulate the State Party for the efforts made over the last few years with respect to this property, and we have no hesitation in joining other delegations or the members of this committee in supporting a change to referral, as we believe that the site belongs on the World Heritage List. The State Party has clearly demonstrated its commitment to taking the appropriate actions, and so we would support the draft decision, that the draft decision be amended accordingly. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jamaica. Vietnam, followed by Croatia. Vietnam, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente de la délégation du Vietnam souhaite se joindre à ce qui a été dit par les orateurs qui ont été parlés avant moi sur les 3 points. Premièrement, je partage le fait que ce site peut satisfaire sur tous les 3, même tous les 3 critères de la Convention, ce qui est très important. Et ce qui a été dit très éloquemment. Mais deuxième point, je partage aussi la vue qui a été expliquée sur la question, sur le lien entre la VUE et la gestion, et surtout la limite. J'aime bien, je n'ai pas ouvert un débat sur cette question-là parce qu'on va revenir sur cette question dans les jours qui viennent, mais c'est très important pour tenir en compte de cet élément. Mais troisièmement, ce qui était un nouveau élément que j'aime bien contribuer à un débat qui est en cours, c'est que ce bien représente sur l'éco-maritime, ce n'est pas très bien représenté sur la liste des biens naturels. Et cet élément est très important. Donc, je souhaite que les organes consultatifs, quand ils examinent les biens proposés dans le futur, tenir en compte des éléments importants comme ça, afin d'avoir un meilleur équilibre de notre liste du patrimoine mondial, surtout des biens naturels. Et finalement, comme j'ai dit dès le début de cette réunion, la délégation du Vietnam souligne les priorités africaines dans cette démarche, dont cet élément est aussi un élément très important dans toutes nos considérations. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, Vietnam. Croatia, followed by the Republic of Korea, which is the last committee member on my list. Croatia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do appreciate all the commitments of the state parties. We are also supporting the statement of the Qatar, and we are hoping that the state party will, jointly with the advisory body, ICN, continue to improve this nomination. Therefore, we are joining all other committee members, and we are supporting change of the draft decision from deferral to referral. Thank you.
Thank you. Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is encouraging that IUCN has seen the potential for 3 natural criteria and that the state party is fully collaborating with IUCN in the process of nominating this site. We would like to recognize the continued endeavors of the State Party of Sudan shown over the past 40 years, which shows us the degree of commitment of the State Party. Considering the OUV present in the site and the assurances of the State Party to subscribe to the recommendations of IUCN, Korea would also like to support the amendment of this nomination to decide on a referral, which should convey to the State Party the positive stance of the World Heritage Committee and our great support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Korea. From World Heritage Committee members, and in response to requests made from the floor, I give now the floor to Sudan. Sudan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Regarding the question of boundaries, and as mentioned in the document of the IUCN, both Sanganip and Donganop appear to be quite intact at the moment. However, and as requested by IUCN, that consideration should be given to including the designated marine buffer zone area of Sanganip and other reefs included to the buffer zone. The government of Sudan expressed its willingness to reshape the boundary of the property in full consultation and cooperation with IUCN. With regard to the management, there are 2 separate management plans for the 2 components because they are 2 protected areas. An individual management plan should be developed to improve coordination and communication between all agencies at the federal and state level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sudan. I will now revert to the IUCN to respond to the points raised from the floor. IUCN.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you to the distinguished delegates for their questions and comments. I see that there is a consensus on the OUV potential of this site. We must say that this is quite clear for IUCN, although the case for criterion 8 was not clearly made in the nomination. We thought that there is some work to do there. Regarding the boundaries, I think that we all recognize that there are some very important places with value that are not included in the nomination. So IUCN was split, I must say. The panel was also split. We really discussed, there was a consensus that there is a need for support. And we really recommended deferral because we felt there is a need for this mission, this advisory mission, to help identify those parts that are not included in the nomination and to improve the boundaries. However, should the committee refer the nomination, IUCN will be, in any case, willing to work with the state party to improve the nomination. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, IUCN. I will turn now to our rapporteur, who will present the draft decision 39-8B3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In fact, I received 2 series of amendments on this item of the agenda. The first amendment alters paragraph 2 and the following state parties, Algeria, Qatar, Malaysia, and Senegal, propose the following amendment. So they propose a referral instead of a deferral, and the paragraph becomes, the World Heritage Committee refers the nomination of the Sangane Marine National Park and Dongona Bay, Mukawar Island Marine National Park in Sudan, back to the state party, taking note. Then Qatar here presents an amendment. So, taking note of the strong potential to meet natural criteria 7, Qatar as well introduces the requirement of paragraph of criterion number 8, so plus 7, 8, 9, and 10, in order to allow it to prepare a revised nomination taking into account the need to. Qatar as well introduces an amendment to 2C. So the World Heritage Committee demonstrate the World Heritage the state party should demonstrate increased financial resources and staffing capacity to ensure an adequate level of effective management. And the series of 4 countries, states, parties, Algeria, Qatar, Malaysia, Senegal, introduce a new paragraph 3, which consists of the World Heritage Committee takes note of the willingness of the state party to work with IUCN to improve the nomination and emphasizes the importance of addressing the full scope of recommendations contained with the IUCN evaluation. That has been the amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we have draft decision 39-COM-HB3 as revised in front of our screens. If there are no further comments, I will take this decision as revised by all of you as adopted. No further comments. Draft decision 39-COM-HB3 is adopted. Moving now to Mongolia and the Russian Federation, the landscapes of Dauria, draft decision 39-COM-HB4. I will invite IUCN to present this nomination. But before giving the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to remind the committee that we received a factual error letter on this nomination, which is to be found on page 61 of the document INF 8B4 in English version and page 68 of the French version. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN's evaluation of this property is on page 29 of the English version of the IUCN evaluation report and page 31 of the French. Next slide, please. The landscapes of Dauria, situated in Central Asia, is a transboundary nomination between the Russian Federation and Mongolia, covering approximately 860,000 hectares. A World Heritage Buffer Zone of nearly 311,000 hectares mostly surrounds the property. Next slide, please. The property is designed to represent outstanding examples of the Daurian steppe ecoregion, which covers more than 1 million square kilometres. The main natural features of the nominated property reside in its large area of mostly intact steppe, interspersed with hills and a large number of wetlands. It includes a mix of floodplains, grasslands, wetlands, reed beds and marshes, numerous mostly salt or soda lakes, halophilic meadows and some small forest areas. Next slide, please. With respect to criterion 9, the nominated property contains substantial areas of grassland, steppe and lakes. The wide range of biodiversity within these systems is shaped by largely undisturbed cyclical changes in climatic and hydrological regimes. The site has globally important Ramsar wetlands, which are key stopover points for migratory birds along the East Asian-Australasian flyway, as well as important breeding sites for many species. Next slide, please. However, the configuration of the property does not include adequate areas of forest steppe to demonstrate the biome transition from the boreal taiga forest to temperate continental grassland, which is argued as central to the potential for this site's OUV. Next slide, please. Justification for criterion 10 again refers to forest steppe, which is very poorly represented in the nomination. The justification refers to Mongolian gazelle as a globally rare endemic species. However, IUCN does note its global status is of least concern. Whilst the property coincides with important migratory gazelle habitat, it is not optimally configured in support of this value, and areas of key habitat are not included. The nominated property does, however, provide extremely important habitats of international importance for at least 4 globally threatened bird species, 2 crane species, swan goose and relic duck, and is of importance for great bustard and sucker falcon. It also provides essential breeding and resting habitat for birds along the East Asian Australasian flyway, with up to 6 million birds using the area in autumn. Next slide, please. There is significant variability in the protection regime across the mosaic of lands that make up the landscapes of Daria. Nearly 70% of the nominated property comprises designated buffer zones of protected areas, and some of these areas are subject to relatively weak levels of legal protection. Land tenure across the nominated property is also variable, with the ownership of some component protected areas not clear. This level of protection, in IUCN's view, is not sufficient to assure the future of the site at this point. Next slide, please. Both states' parties have established management plans for their respective protected areas, and whilst there is no overall management plan yet in place across the transboundary system, good cooperation is apparent. Funding mainly comes from the respective governments, and current levels appear to be stable. However, there is a 4-fold difference in funding levels between Russia and Mongolia, and an over-reliance on limited customary management arrangements over 80% of the property in Mongolia. Next slide, please. Parts of the nominated area within the Russian Federation have been subject to past land use and are subject to long-term recovery programs. Human pressures have historically been relatively low. However, negative impacts on natural values have resulted from human activities and natural disasters such as fire. A specific concern relates to mining, which in Mongolia is permitted within buffer zones with the approval of the Ministry of Environment. However, we have received assurances on controls on mining within the buffer zone. Next slide, please. IUCN considers that a revised nomination is needed to adequately represent the stated global biodiversity significance of the Darien region, reframed around its importance for conserving an excellent example of Darien steppe and its characteristic wildlife. Whilst there is potential to meet natural criteria, the present nomination is not convincing, and key attributes of the proposed OUV are not included, such as the most significant areas of forest steppe. A revised nomination would also need to address the range of integrity, protection and management issues in the first phase of any proposed serial approach. IUCN is pleased to have been able to meet the representatives of the nomination already in our office in Switzerland to review the next steps, and we would be willing to assist a reconfigured nomination. But at present and in conclusion, IUCN considers the case for OUV is not made, and that integrity, protection and management of the property do not meet the requirements of the operational guidelines. Next slide, please. So the draft decision is set out, Madam Chair, on page 7 of both the English and French versions of Working Document 8B. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. The floor now belongs to the committee. Kazakhstan, you have the floor first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We thank IUCN rapporteur for this report. Well, recognizing the importance and the uniqueness of this property situated in the vast territory of Central Asia, Kazakhstan supports the necessity to implementation for capacity improvement. At the same time, our national experts have positively evaluated the defined boundaries and the buffer zones with future possibilities to enlarge it with expectable extension of its OUV. The landscapes are well conserved, we believe, and authentic and carry out highly biodiversity, including a number of globally and locally threatened species. We found that the management plans are in place for each part of the property and for the property as a whole. While evaluating, we noticed Mongolian-Russian cooperation in the frame of convention. We remember inclusion in 2003 of Oops-Nur Basin nature property with following joint successful management of its big territory, which moreover, and we should underline this fact, consisted of 12 remote component parts. Madam Chair, we would like to note with satisfaction a spirit of cooperation and commitment shown by the state parties in the preparation stage of this nomination. And we believe that fruitful cooperation between state parties will lead to fulfillment of all recommendations given by advisory body. And it could be acceptable even after inclusion property in the World Heritage List. We emphasize with special satisfaction the fact that some IOC recommendations were already fulfilled to this moment. Thus, we were informed, particularly about mining breaking in the one of the state parts of the nominated area. So, in addition, Madam Chair, we kindly make a request to you to give a floor to delegation of Russian Federation for make clarification on position of state party on para 2A and 2B of the decision, since there were some questions for clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Kazakhstan. India, followed by Japan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India would first like to compliment the state parties of Mongolia and Russian Federation for their commitment towards the protection of very important Central Asian steppe ecosystem, which is very poorly represented in the current heritage list. This is a fact which is duly acknowledged by the advisory body IUCN in the draft decision at para 5. We are also happy to note that the IUCN evaluation has found that although the management capacities between Russian Federation and Mongolia are different, yet the overall situation is that the nominated property meets the requirement or the management requirement of the operational guidelines. We would like to compliment the state parties for proposing over 8,50,000 hectares of landscapes of Doria as part of the transboundary nomination that includes the main breeding ground of the Mongolian gazelle and is a home to 6 species of crane, which is quite unique to the area. We also feel that the property meets the criteria 10. The property provides extremely important habitats for at least 4 globally threatened bird species, and it serves as an essential breeding and resting habitat for birds along the East Asian and Australasian flyway. There are nearly 3 million birds which come in spring and 6 million birds in autumn in this area. We would therefore like a reconsideration and would like to propose a referral to the draft decision. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, India. Japan, you have the floor.
Doria is an important wetland in our region and is a breeding area for hooded and white-necked cranes that winter in our country, as well as many other water birds, as mentioned in the IUCN explanation, or as well as the statement of Indian delegation. There has been cooperation among 3 countries, namely Russia, Mongolia, and China, to protect this area for more than 20 years. In this regard, we would like to ask the state parties about the relationship between this nomination and the Doria International Protected Area. Also, we would like to know the effectiveness of the protection in the buffer zone of protected areas included in the nominated property. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. Lebanon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We endorse the proposal made by India. Thank you.
Thank you, Lebanon. If there are no more committee members, I will now give the floor. I can see there is Serbia. Serbia, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, we support the same proposal made by India.
Thank you, Serbia. From committee members, I will now move on and as requested to to the Russian Federation. Russia? Oh, I can see that Qatar and Portugal have raised their flags. So Qatar and Portugal in that order, first.
Merci Madame la Présidente. C'est juste pour féliciter les deux États parties pour la présentation de ce dossier pour ce site gigantesque. Et nous sommes d'accord avec le Liban et les autres pays qui demandent le renvoi de ce dossier. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Qatar. Portugal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. We share the same position as expressed by India. I thank you.
Thank you, Portugal. Germany, followed by Vietnam. Germany?
Germany thanks IUCN for its thorough evaluation and the states parties for their efforts to nominate a property in an important ecosystem. Whilst a nomination in the wider Dorian steppe ecoregion has the potential to meet natural criteria 9 and 10, the nomination in front of the committee does not yet. We agree with the IUCN nomination that this file needs to be significantly revised in order to include all elements necessary for representation of the OUV, and therefore we believe that deferral is the suitable option here. The necessary revisions would also need a complete evaluation to assess the newly added components, including their protection and management. This is why referral would not be adequate. In addition, thank you. So Germany supports the draft decision as proposed by IUCN and World Heritage Center. Thank you.
Thank you to the Ambassador of Germany. I will now move on to Vietnam, followed by Algeria. Vietnam.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, la délégation du Vietnam soutient pleinement la proposition faite par la délégation de l'Inde. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Vietnam. Algeria, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La délégation algérienne soutient également la proposition faite par l'Inde de renvoi de ce dossier. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, Algeria. Turkey, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This Daria steppe ecosystem certainly has outstanding universal values with respect to criteria 9 and 10. But as advisory bodies indicated, to meet these two criteria, there are additional sites to be integrated, and once they are incorporated to the overall property, certainly this will be a great World Heritage Site, filling the gaps in that respect. So I like to, or as a Turkey, we like to hear two state parties if those adjustments could be done within the given period for a referral. If they convince us that it could be done, we will support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Turkey. Senegal, you have the floor now.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le Sénégal soutient la proposition de l'Inde pour le renvoi. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. Are there any other committee members wishing to take the floor? If there are no more committee members, I will then give the floor, as requested, to the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dear ladies and gentlemen, members of the World Heritage Committee. The principal claims of the advisory body can be reduced to two main positions: lack of forest steppe landscapes and doubt in the inclusion into the property the buffer zone of the specially protected areas, which are not provided in the expert's opinion with the sufficient nature protected regime. These claims are in the basis of practically all minuses put by the experts. But we must note, the nomination is stated as a serial one, which suggests inclusion of the other special protected area in the future to extend its outstanding universal value and strengthen the characteristics of the criteria according to which the nomination was presented. Especially, this is protected area with forest steppe and main plains for Mongolian gazelle. And this correlates to the requirements of paragraph 139 of the operation and guidelines. And the first property nominated is, in our opinion, of outstanding universal value in its own right. Especially now nomination includes all main types of not-Dauria forest steppe and landscapes. Concerning to the regime of buffer zone. Now we have many examples when the buffer zone of Russian and Mongolian protected areas includes the property, for example, transboundary of Sunur-Follow. The regimes of special protection in the buffer zone are set and written down in the official regulation. The same it is done for the regimes of special protected areas. Dauria really unites countries and continents. Million birds, our main richness, fly to our place from New Zealand and Australia, India, Malaysia, Philippines, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and China. With the joint efforts, we try to preserve our common natural heritage to property of the earth. And we ask you to support our initiative and inscribe our nomination on the World Heritage List or decide to refer the nomination. We are ready to make our nomination to this period, to next year. Thank you very much. And I kindly ask Madam Chairman to pass floor to Mongolian delegation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Russia. And the floor now belongs to Mongolia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to the nomination of the Daurian landscape, the position of Mongolia is consistent and aligned with the position of the Russian Federation. Therefore, we kindly ask to change the decision from defer to refer. In addition, using this opportunity, Mongolia would like to express its readiness to cooperate with advisory body IUCN and the Russian Federation in relation to conservation of the Daurian landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mongolia. I will now revert to the committee members after those interventions by the Russian Federation and Mongolia. Any comments, any views? Especially Japan, Turkey. Who had requested that the state parties might take the floor? Kazakhstan, you wish to take the floor? You have the floor.
Madam Chair, we asked state parties for some clarifications, and both state parties have expressed their willingness for further cooperation and improve some parts of nomination. And I think so majority of the committee members well stand for referral. To qualify this nomination for referral, state parties agree. And if IUCN wants to say something, we would like to hear. If not, then we would like to pass for the amendment of the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. If there are no more committee members, Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to, we have no further question, but we would like to see the amended text of the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Japan. That will be the case. Any other committee members? If not, I will revert to the IUCN to clarify the position. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We didn't detect many specific questions back to us on our evaluation. I think perhaps just to reiterate a couple of points in terms of our position, which is reflected in the evaluation. We contend that the site design and configuration, in effect, does not match the outstanding universal arguments which have been put forward. And in that respect, the recommendation for deferral was seen as the appropriate tool in order to review significantly the boundaries and the design of this site. A number of areas were noted as possible additions to this property, and they were unable to be evaluated during the mission, of course. So the opportunity for a fresh mission would allow us to reconsider the configuration and the makeup of this property. I would also note that the property was not nominated as technically as a serial nomination. It is a contiguous property, notwithstanding the obvious intention of the two states parties to pursue a longer-term serial nomination. So you will appreciate IUCN must evaluate the property as it's presented before us. I would just like to make a comment, if I will, on the question regarding the adequacy of protection of buffer zones. The property is made up of a number of strictly protected areas of the highest protection level under IUCN's category system, and the buffer zones of a number of those protected areas. In fact, only 30% of the property is within protected areas, and in Mongolia, only 18% of the property is in protected areas. The evaluation did acknowledge that the regulation of activity within the buffer zones in Russia, in the Russian Federation, is at a stronger level than we see in Mongolia, where more traditional practices are pursued, and there is, we think, a lower capacity to be able to address some of the concerns and threats. So I will stop there, I think, having responded to those points that we noted from the distinguished delegates. Thank you.
Thank you, IUCN. And with that, now I will turn to our rapporteur, who will present Decision 39-8B4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In fact, I received an amendment proposed by India on paragraph 2 of this draft decision. So India suggests that the World Heritage Committee refers the nomination of landscapes of Doria, Mongolia, and Russian Federation back to the state parties, noting the potential for a nomination in the wider Dorian steppes ecoregion to meet natural criterion number 10 only and deleting number 9. In order to allow the states parties to provide supplementary information, taking into account the need to, etc. That has been the amendment. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. And committee members, I will now proceed to adopt the decision as revised. And if there is no disagreement, the decision 39-8B4 may be taken as adopted. We now move on to Thailand. The Keng Krachan Forest Complex, draft decision 39-8B5. And here I will turn to the IUCN to present this nomination. You have the floor, IUCN.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. IUCN's evaluation of this property is on page 41 of the English version of the evaluation report you have before you, and page 45 of the French version. Next slide, please. The Keng Krachan Forest Complex, or the KKFC, is a significant part of the Indo-Malayan ecoregion and is located along the Tenasserim Range, which also delineates the international border between Thailand and Myanmar. The complex comprises 4 contiguous protected areas, 3 national parks and 1 wildlife sanctuary, and covers an area of approximately 482,000 hectares. A relatively uniform 3-kilometre wide buffer zone totalling around 243,000 hectares runs down the eastern boundary. Important to note is that the Kuburi Forest Reserve and Army Reserve Zone, which were shown in the nomination dossier as corridor areas, have subsequently been added to the Kuburi National Park, providing for more uniform protection across the contiguous site. Next slide, please. 6 forest types cover more than 95% of the nominated area, with the majority of the site dominated by semi-evergreen, dry evergreen and moist evergreen forest. Comprehensive data on plant species are not available, however, nearly 2,000 species have been recorded across the complex. The nominated property overlaps with 2 important bird areas and is noted for its rich diversity of bird life, including 8 globally threatened species. Next slide, please. The Keng Krachan Forest Complex has a rich fauna when compared to other World Heritage sites in the same biome. Endemic and threatened species include some compelling species such as the critically endangered Siamese crocodile and the endangered tiger and Asian elephant. The nominated property also sits at an ecological crossroads coinciding with an overlap of zoogeographical subregions. Situated in remote and inaccessible terrain, the property potentially retains the full range of mammals, birds and reptiles found in the region, including, most impressively, 8 species of wild cat. The State Party has advised it is updating data on key species populations, and we have at this committee meeting received updated information on data from the State Party of Thailand. Next slide, please. IUCN's evaluation suggests the potential for the property to meet criterion 9 also. The forest complex is part of several biogeographical regional classifications which are not yet well represented on the World Heritage List. The property is of a size and intactness to support naturally functioning biological and ecological processes, and transboundary opportunities with the adjoining Tananthaya forest complex on the tentative list of Myanmar, together with biological corridor opportunities between the forest complex before us and Tung Nhai Waka Keng World Heritage Site to the north, offer the potential for a much larger area of intact forest, particularly important for large mammal species which range over extensive areas. Next slide, please. The KKFC, the forest complex, comprises 4 contiguous legally gazetted protected areas, all of which are state-owned and managed by the Department of National Parks, Wildlife and Plant Conservation. IUCN notes the need for coordinated approaches across the various protected areas that make up the forest complex, as these are all subject to different laws and different protective regimes. Next slide, please. Each of the protected areas within the complex has its own management plan. In addition, a property-wide management plan has been submitted at the time of the nomination and should provide overarching direction to management. All the protected areas within the complex have full-time resident staff, including superintendents, and there are high levels of commitment and professionalism from the senior management group. Next slide, please. The forest complex has a long history of human settlement, and currently there are 12 settlements within the boundary of the complex, including Karen and Karang people who still live in the villages of Pongluk and Bangkloi inside Krang Krachang National Park. There is important information that should be borne in mind by the committee in this regard. IUCN received a letter from the Karen Network for Culture and Environment Forest Peoples Program in September of 2014, alleging serious abuses of human rights regarding Karen communities living within the Krang Krachang National Park. The letter alleges violent forced evictions, harassment and inadequate consultation on the nomination. IUCN and the World Heritage Centre also received correspondence on this issue from the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights, Regional Office for Southeast Asia. This letter recommended IUCN urge the Thai government to address 6 specific areas of concern which are detailed in our evaluation. The State Party has provided further insights into the legal and practical complexities of rights issues within its supplementary, and furthermore in discussions we have had at this session of the committee. This document that was received was then responded to by the Office of the High Commissioner to the World Heritage Centre following a site visitor, and the Centre has included these letters in the information that the committee has on this nomination, I believe. In summary, the Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights considers Inscription would be premature for this nomination. This was independently also the conclusion that IUCN has reached in recommending a referral. IUCN notes the concerned communities have not expressed in principle opposition to the World Heritage nomination. The nomination provides an opportunity with time to address underlying rights and resource use concerns and ensure a consensus of support for inclusion of the Krang Krachang Forest Complex to the World Heritage List. And in discussions with the State Party here in Bonn, a roadmap to support the nomination has been tabled. And this shows a commendable process with a target to bring the nomination back to the committee in 2016. Next slide, please. So based on the above, IUCN recommends the World Heritage Committee refer the nomination back to the State Party to provide the additional time necessary to resolve the significant issues that have been raised by communities and the UN Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights, and to provide further updated information, if possible, on the conservation status of key populations of threatened species. We would also like to emphasise that whilst at times we have seen referrals converted to inscriptions by the committee, this is one instance where we believe referral, not deferral, is considered the appropriate course of action by the committee to allow the necessary time to address these issues which have been raised by affected communities and the UN High Commissioner. Next slide, please. The draft decision is set out on page 8 of both the English and the French versions of Working Document 8B. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, IUCN. The floor is open now to the committee members to express their comments. I have 2 committee members so far wishing to take the floor, 3 now. So Vietnam, followed by India, followed by Finland. Vietnam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Kang Krakram Forest Complex is a significant part of Indo-Malayan ecoregion with a total area of more than 480,000 hectares. The nominated property is reported to contain over 720 animal species, 91 mammal species, 461 bird species, 120 species of amphibians and reptiles. The property is home to the critical endangered freshwater Siamese crocodile, Asian elephants, yellow tortoise, especially a remarkable 8 species of big cats. The property has also been previously identified by IUCN as a critical tiger reserve. Madam Chair, the list is far from being exhaustive, and the number of threatened species is higher than any park in the region according to the recent comparative analysis. The Vietnamese delegation is of the view that such property fully meets the criteria 10 concerning biodiversity and threatened species, and very probably meeting the criteria 9 on ecology system as pointed out clearly by IUCN. Boundaries, integrity, management capacity all meet the requirements. So OUV has been clearly established. The only problem that prevents the property from being inscribed this year, Madam Chair, is that the lack of consultation at the time of nomination by the government of Thailand with around 3,000 current people, a local community who just moved to the park recently. Madam Chair, Karen community are also Thai, and the Thailand is better placed than anyone to know how to take care of their own citizens. Vietnam welcomed the ongoing dialogue between the state party and the representative of current community who have already included in the park management board. We welcome the roadmap adopted just 10 days ago by the Thai cabinet in order to address these concerns. In that spirit, Vietnam wishes to table amendment to minor modify the draft decision. We are not going to change substantially the draft decision, but we just have a very minor decision. In doing so, but before that, I ask your permission, Madam Chair, to ask the Minister of the Thai delegation to answer the questions concerning the roadmap that his cabinet just adopted 10 days ago. I thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vietnam, for that. Well noted your point. We now give the floor to India, Finland, Jamaica, Japan, Kazakhstan, Philippines, Colombia, and the Republic of Korea in that order. India, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. India would first like to compliment the State Party of Thailand for proposing the nomination of 4 contiguous and legally gazetted protected areas, what is now called as a KKF complex, and this covers about 500,000 hectares of area. This complex also harbors as many as 8 species of wild cats, besides being home to the critically endangered Siamese crocodile. India has a suggestion to the state party to consider also the transboundary cooperation and connectivity with the neighboring Myanmar so as to bring nearly 1 million hectares of contiguous corridor between Thailand and Myanmar as a transnational complex. India supports the draft decision of referral on this body.
Thank you. Finland, you have the floor, followed by Jamaica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finland joins Vietnam and India and welcomes this nomination and hopes to see this outstanding site to be included on the World Heritage List in the near future. The State Party of Thailand has recently submitted a roadmap for the support of the nomination process. Finland welcomes this roadmap, which indicates commitment of the State Party. We also encourage the Thai government to take the additional actions in order to address the concerns regarding the carrion communities and to provide updated data on conservation status of key populations of threatened species. Finland also welcomes the information from Thailand that it has started cooperation with the State Party of Myanmar in order to enhance transboundary cooperation and to safeguard connectivity of the wildlife habitats. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Finland. Jamaica, you have the floor, followed by Japan and Portugal. Jamaica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we congratulate the State Party for presenting this site, and we commend them for their commitment in conserving the site. Madam Chair, we note that there's an amendment proposed, and we can indicate our support for that amendment because we believe it speaks to one of the 5 C's guiding the World Heritage Convention, and that is community involvement in the overall management of World Heritage sites. In this context, we would reiterate our support for the recommendation for an amendment to the draft decision, and we look forward to the resubmission of the dossier in the near future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jamaica. Japan, followed by Portugal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to commend the state parties for submitting this very important the 5 for the nomination, and we concur with the assessment of the IUCN and others that this site has a full OUV and merits the inscription of the site. Having reviewed the dossier, we support the draft decision to, in principle, to refer back to the nomination, given the number of the issues addressed. At the same time, I would like to commend the state parties and partner NGOs for their efforts to address improved conservation management within the property, including improved anti-poaching and patrol system and community management. And I'd like to join Finland and encourage the state parties to address the issues pointed out by the United Nations Commissioner for Human Rights. In this regard, we would like to invite Honorable Minister of Thailand to address and to speak how to address this issue. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Japan. The Ambassador of Portugal has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I do not doubt the very relevant value of this property, albeit some technical problems, and that it should be in time inscribed in the heritage list. Nevertheless, there are some very important issues of human rights that will have to be solved before that inscription. We thus agree with the IUCN proposal for referral, and I look forward to the amendment that has been announced by Vietnam. I thank you.
Thank you, Portugal. Kazakhstan, followed by Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We congratulate the State Party for nominating Kaeng Krachan Forest Complex for the World Heritage List. We believe that the proposed site for inscription is a bright but fragile piece of natural heritage of outstanding importance. And at the same time, we see strong efforts implemented by state party towards sustainable management, including all the questions raised up in draft decision. And my delegation wants to support the Vietnam distinguished delegation in the IUCN decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kazakhstan. Philippines, you have the floor, followed by Colombia. Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The forest complex is a rich biodiversity with several endemics and is a strong nomination under Criterion 10. The advisory body's recommendation for a referral, which we also support, identifies certain threats that must be addressed. We commend the recent approval by the Cabinet of the Royal Thai government of the roadmap for the inscription of the forest complex. It is comprehensive and has indicators and specific timeframes for concrete measures to comply with the World Heritage Standards. We likewise commend the state Thailand for their efforts for improved conservation and management of the proposed property as a World Heritage Site. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you to the Ambassador of the Philippines. And now, Colombia, you have the floor, followed by the Republic of Korea. Colombia.
Gracias, señora Presidenta. Queremos comenzar por felicitar la importancia de esta área, felicitar al país por tener la protección necesaria para generar la conectividad que requieren los animales, las especies de fauna tan importantes y que en general se encuentran en estado crítico en el resto del mundo. Queremos realzar el alto número de especies fundamentales en la fauna que están en este sitio y por esto dar la razón a la UICN sobre el concepto que ha realizado y la decisión planteada que debe ser, estamos de acuerdo en referral. Nosotros alentamos al país parte al diálogo entre las comunidades locales, el gobierno, las ONGs, el sector privado, para que logren acordar de la manera más amplia posible las maneras de conservar este sitio extraordinario. Sabemos que no es posible tener el acuerdo total de todas las personas involucradas, pero sí alentamos insistir en el diálogo con todos los grupos humanos involucrados. Gracias, señora Presidenta.
Thank you, Colombia. Republic of Korea, you have the floor, followed by Malaysia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding this nomination, we appreciate the OUV presence in the Gaeng Krachan Forest Complex and that the requirements have been fulfilled by the state party regarding the protection and management, and we welcome the draft decision of a referral. As in the case of this or any other nomination, the involvement and engagement of local communities and stakeholders which share a responsibility and significance with the heritage cannot be emphasized enough. The importance of obtaining informed consent of the Garang communities occupying their territories within the boundaries of the property in order to ensure the sustainable conservation and development of the property is fully recognized. We would like to commend the commitment shown by Thailand in addressing such a delicate and important issue. The rights-based approach taken up within this World Heritage Convention is especially important and should be encouraged in the future. We welcome the willingness of the government of Thailand to establish a roadmap which will ensure the support of the local communities towards this nomination, and we support the referral of this nomination, looking forward to the amendment which will be proposed by Vietnam when we are discussing the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Republic of Korea. Malaysia, you have the floor, followed by Peru. Malaysia.
Thank you once again, Madam Chair. Malaysia congratulates and commend the state party for bringing in the nomination for this important example of the Indo-Malaysian eco-region consisting of tropical rainforest with some elements of semi-deciduous forest at the northeast of Thailand. We appreciate the concern expressed by advisory bodies in in the thorough evaluation and also the concern of the human rights issues. At the same time, let us balance with the fate of many cat species occurring in the area, especially the fate of the subspecies of the tiger, which, as you know, in the range of the tiger distribution, it is facing a very bleak future. And I believe, Thailand is in a position to cooperate with the neighboring Burma in addressing these said issues. And to come forward with some recommendation is quite easy, but let us consider for a moment the fate of this complex forest and the species contained within. Malaysia would like to welcome the amended statement, draft decision later, and again welcome the statement from the state parties with regard to the thorny issues as mentioned by other delegates. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Malaysia. Peru, you have the floor, followed by Turkey. Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. La delegación del Perú agradece al IUCN la presentación de este informe. Asimismo, agradece y felicita a Tailandia por la presentación del complejo de bosques de Caen Krachan para la lista de Patrimonio Mundial. La delegación del Perú ha leído con satisfacción la información sobre el criterio 10. Aparentemente, de acuerdo a lo informado por el IUCN, a la nominación calificaría al UEB por el criterio 10. Sin embargo, también compartimos las preocupaciones sobre el estado de conservación de parte de la fauna silvestre del lugar. En ese sentido, la delegación del Perú esperaría con atención la propuesta de enmienda que sería presentada, tenemos entendido, por Vietnam para podernos pronunciar posteriormente al respecto. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Turkey, you have the floor, followed by Senegal. Turkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is no doubt that this prepared nomination file has a strong value, strong documentation with respect to its uniqueness, integrity, and management. I will not emphasize further how important with respect to intact ecosystem, but the roadmap documented and provided us by the state party indicates that the issues mentioned by advisory bodies and in draft decision will be adequately addressed. So the state party, if the minister provide us detailed information, we will be delighted. So with this respect, we support the amendments will be submitted by Vietnam and as a draft decision after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Turkey. Senegal, you have the floor, followed by Lebanon. Senegal.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, comme les prédécesseurs, nous félicitons l'État partie et nous remercions l'UCN de la clarté du rapport qui nous a été soumis. Les menaces qui pèsent sur ces espèces pour cette zone très riche en biodiversité nous permettent de soutenir le projet de décision en attendant d'avoir beaucoup plus d'informations par le représentant des États partis. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Senegal. Lebanon, you have the floor, followed by Algeria. Lebanon.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Comme tout a été dit, nous soutenons la proposition du Vietnam. Merci.
Merci, Lebanon. Algeria, you have the floor, followed by Qatar.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous félicitons l'État partie pour la présentation de ce dossier d'importance et également pour les actions menées pour la mise en place d'une feuille de route. La délégation algérienne encourage l'État partie à poursuivre ses efforts de collaboration avec les ONG partenaires et pour s'assurer de la volonté des communautés locales en vue de la protection de ce bien. Le processus participatif est long et laborieux pour arriver à une solution concertée entre toutes les parties prenantes. Le rapport fait déjà état d'une collaboration entre les ONG et les communautés locales pour résoudre certains conflits, et cela rend compte de la pertinence de ce processus que nous encourageons. Nous sommes d'accord avec la proposition de renvoi de ce dossier et nous donnerons notre avis sur les amendements qui seront proposés. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Algeria. The floor now belongs to Qatar, followed by Poland. Qatar.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. À notre tour, nous félicitons l'État partie d'avoir présenté ce dossier pour l'inscription. Nous sommes tout à fait d'accord avec le consensus qui se présente dans la salle concernant le renvoi de ce dossier. Cela, je pense, permettra à l'État partie de régler la question des communautés et aussi d'insérer le critère 9 comme envisagé par l'IUCN dans son rapport, donc en plus du critère 10 présenté par l'État partie. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Qatar. The last committee member on my list is Poland. Poland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Very briefly, Poland also supports the draft decision presented by IUCN. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Poland. And from the committee members, I will now move on to Thailand. Oh, I can see that Croatia has raised its flag. Croatia first, and then Thailand.
Madam Chair, just to be very brief, we would like to thank IUCN and the State Party and support the referral. Thank you.
Thank you, Croatia. And now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Thailand. Thailand, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is regrettable that the inscription of the Kankrachan Forest Complex under Criterion 10 is recommended to be referred this year. We are strongly confident that the site has qualified OUV and merits inscription. The fact that the draft decision encouraged Thailand to consider nominating to property under Criterion 9 confirms the value and significance of the ecosystem of the complex. However, the referral is acceptable for Thailand. On the concern of the Korean community, the Thai government has been taking care of more than 700,000 Korean people in the country, since Thailand has a long tradition of protecting the rights of diverse groups living across the country. The number of the registered Koreans in this complex was initially 300, but later, more than 2,000 Koreans have migrated from outside, some from across the border. The Thai government has undertaken many development projects to improve their quality of life long before the nomination. Let me inform the committee that the Thai government has now approved the roadmap for sustainable management of the complex, aiming to promote conservation of OUV in a holistic manner with timeline participatory process of the stakeholders, including the Korean community. Thailand is committed to fully implement the roadmap. We firmly believe that the complex is a heritage of mankind. It does not belong to any particular group. We need to have a balanced approach. Improving livelihood must be balanced with taking ownership and common responsibility to preserve the OUV of the complex. We look forward to the inscription of the Kankrachan Forest Complex as the Natural World Heritage Site in the next session, if not by this session. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. And now I will turn to IUCN, should they wish to comment. No comments from the IUCN, so I turn to the rapporteur and ask him to present draft decision 39-8B5.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. In fact, Vietnam has presented an amendment to this draft decision. Au paragraphe 2, donc A, le Vietnam propose d'ajouter une dernière partie à ce paragraphe. Donc, et pour parvenir donc, à la ligne 6 du paragraphe 5 version française, et pour parvenir à un appui au lieu d'un consensus, un appui en faveur de la proposition d'inscription aussi large que possible de la part des communautés locales, des organisations gouvernementales, non gouvernementales et du secteur privé et des autres parties prenantes, en supprimant la dernière phrase du paragraphe. Également, le Vietnam propose d'ajouter un nouveau paragraphe 6 au projet de décision. Donc, le nouveau paragraphe 6 stipule « Le Comité du patrimoine mondial accueille favorablement la feuille de route adoptée par le gouvernement thaïlandais le 23 juin 2015 afin de prendre en compte toutes les recommandations de l'UICN pour l'inscription potentielle du complexe des forêts de Kang Krachan sur la liste du patrimoine mondial à la 40e session du comité, notant que les représentants de la communauté Karan ont récemment été inclus dans le conseil de gestion du complexe des forêts de Kang Krachan. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much for that. We have the draft decision. Portugal, you wish to take the floor?
Yes, Madam President. Can I take the floor on the amendment suggested?
Yes, okay. Indeed. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I can support the alterations proposed by Vietnam. I think they are good proposals, but I would, if we go back to paragraph 2A, I would leave in the last bout de phrase, that is fully consistent with the principle of free, prior, and informed consent. Because I think this actually reinforces the whole sense of the alteration proposed by Vietnam and makes this paragraph coherent and consistent. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Any other committee member wishing to take the floor on the suggestion of Portugal? Finland, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, we prefer the amendment by Vietnam, and we would like to skip the last part of this para. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Finland. So, Algeria.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous soutenons la proposition initiale du Vietnam. Merci.
Thank you. Any other committee member? Vietnam?
Madam Chair, I think that Vietnam has tried to come up with the most acceptable version, which reflects the spirits proposed by the original draft decision. The reasons why Vietnam suggests to delete the last sentence because we believe that perhaps a redundance. The most fundamental issues we need to address in order for this nomination, for this property to be inscribed on the list is that we need to have a talk and agreement, the widest possible agreement with the local people. So that is the fundamental message, and we can keep that, and I think that everybody subscribe to that. With the last sentence, I don't think that is necessary, number one. And number two, Madam Chair, we are here at the prestigious Committee of Culture and Heritage. We are not in Geneva on the Human Rights Council, Madam Chair. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Vietnam. Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would just like to support the original amendment proposed by Vietnam. Thank you.
Thank you, Korea. No other committee member wishing to take the floor, so I will turn to Portugal again and say that since the Republic of Korea, Algeria, Finland are supporting the Vietnamese amendment, is the Ambassador of Portugal willing to agree to the emerging consensus?
I can leave my alteration out That is not the issue. But, and I can live with the initial proposal by Vietnam. What is very difficult for me to accept, on the other hand, is that we refer to principle of free and informed consent as something redundant, and that one says that human rights issues are something that should be exclusively left to Geneva. I think that is not consistent with the work of this committee, where, even if we don't like it, human rights are a universal value that must be present in our work, as we saw with the German declaration, which was approved by consensus, which is fundamentally an issue of human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I will now give the floor to Japan, followed by Senegal. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I intended to actually intervene before the distinguished Ambassador Portugal spoke. So my suggestion is maybe not relevant anymore, but if there is a state part, the member of the committee who really insisting on the keeping this the part of the sentence that is we're discussing, our proposal is to add the word as appropriate, which is the reflection of our discussion at the working group on the operational guidelines. Just to add the as appropriate after the consent, but we can go along with the, of course, without this part of the sentence if the sense of the committee is so. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Japan. Senegal, you have the floor, followed by Kazakhstan.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Sénégal supporte la décision faite par l'amendement fait par le Vietnam. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. Kazakhstan, your comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to announce our support to Vietnamese amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. Are there any other committee members who might wish to comment on the Vietnamese formulation and the comments made by, yes, Japan?
Then I think we would like to join the Vietnam, Algeria, Republic, Korea, Finland, Senegal, and Kazakhstan to lead the part. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Japan. Qatar, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous soutenons aussi l'amendement fait par le Vietnam. Merci.
Thank you, Qatar. I think we have a clear view on paragraph on A, as amended by Vietnam, Algeria, Republic of Korea, Finland, Senegal, Kazakhstan, Japan, Qatar. Therefore, if there are no further objections or comments, I will now propose to adopt decision 39-8B5 as amended. Adopted. We will now move on to Vietnam, the Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park, draft decision 39-8B6, and I turn now to the IUCN to present this nomination. But before that, the floor belongs to Mr. Balsamos, who wishes to make a point. You have the floor, Mr. Balsamos.
Thank you, Chair. We received a factual letter on this nomination, which is to be found on page 88 of the English version of the document INF 8B4, on page 91 of the French version. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balsamo. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN's evaluation of this property is on page 53 of the English version of the evaluation report and page 59 of the French. Next slide, please. Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park was inscribed onto the World Heritage List under Criteria 8 in 2003. At that time, the committee encouraged the state party to review the boundaries and engage in dialogue with the People's Republic of Laos regarding transboundary opportunities. The property was then renominated in 2010 under criteria 8 and 10 when the committee referred it back to Vietnam because an extension in area was awaited and conditions of integrity, protection and management were not met. In July of 2013, the national park was expanded, facilitating the nomination of this larger area, which is now before the committee under additional biodiversity criteria 9 and 10. Next slide, please. The renomination, if approved, would extend the property's area by some 45% and make it contiguous on the western boundary with the Him Nam No conservation area in neighbouring Lao PDR. The extended site is largely undisturbed evergreen forest, 84% of which is considered primary forest, the highest percentage remaining in any Vietnamese protected area. Phong Nha Ke Bang's forest ecosystems, both karst and non-karst, support a high diversity of plants and animals, including many karst specialist species, many endemic species, and a number of species that are globally threatened. Next slide, please. Since Inscription in 2003, knowledge of the property's extensive cave systems has continued to increase. This increased knowledge and research includes additional caves found and mapped, such as the Song Dun Cave, reported to contain the world's largest cave passage in terms of diameter and continuity. The values for criterion 8 are better documented than previously, and the extension strengthens the outstanding universal value under this criterion. Next slide, please. A high level of biodiversity is found within the property, with over 2,700 species of vascular plants and over 800 vertebrate species, including significant numbers of globally threatened species. Its cave ecosystems and habitats are unique, with high levels of endemism and adaptations displayed by cave-dependent species. The property is particularly important for primates, with 9 species occurring, 7 of which are considered globally threatened. The park protects possibly the largest viable populations of 3 of these primate species. Next slide, please. Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park belongs to the Northern Annamites Rainforests ecoregion, which is not yet present in a World Heritage Site. Similarly, none of the 2 freshwater ecoregions to which Phong Nha Ke Bang belongs is yet present in a biodiversity site. Other global conservation priority areas are also represented by this site. Next slide, please. The property continues to be threatened by poaching and illegal harvest of forest products. However, various initiatives have been introduced, including a series of legal directives, improved planning, communication strategies, and interagency collaboration. A law enforcement plan is in place, including joint patrols in border areas between Vietnam and Lao PDR. Nevertheless, this issue remains a serious concern for the property. Next slide, please. The property now has in place a strategic management plan for the period 2013 to 2025. IUCN highlights the importance as part of this plan of revising the Sustainable Tourism Development Plan to include the extension area and ensure the protection of key natural values. This is particularly important in view of the Quang Binh Province tourism strategy, which prioritises tourism as a key driver of development. The State Party, in supplementary information, has advised that the Song Dun Cave cable car development project has been conceptually accepted and that further studies and analyses are continuing. However, an EIA, an environmental impact assessment, has not yet been completed, as the project is still in a planning and assessment phase, and that advice will be sought from the committee before any possible permission. IUCN would like to reiterate the point it made in its 2011 evaluation that mandatory environmental impact assessment must be strictly enforced for all investors and national agencies with either development interests in Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park or mandates to develop infrastructure that may impact on the park's natural values. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, the extension to the inscribed property responds to past calls from the committee and advice from IUCN and adds significantly to the natural values of the site, thus providing for a much more robust property. Integrity, protection and management meet the requirements of the operational guidelines, but a range of threats remain, such as poaching and unsustainable tourism development, and IUCN recommends to approve the extension under natural criteria 8 9 and 10. Next slide, please. The draft decision you see on the screen is set out on page 8 of both the English and French versions of Working Document 8B. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, IUCN. I will now turn to the committee members to express their comments on this nomination. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. The State Party of Vietnam is a biodiversity-rich country, and Japan congratulates this successful renomination of the first natural world heritage with biodiversity criteria in Vietnam. We commend the State Party's continuous effort for studying caves, ecosystems, and biodiversity of the property, as well as enhancing the protection of the property. Those efforts lead to the recognition of one of the most irreplaceable natural world heritage sites not yet recognized under biodiversity criteria, and to the extension of the park. We fully support the extension and renomination of the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. I have on my speakers list Malaysia, Turkey, India, Senegal, and the Republic of Korea, in that order, and just added Philippines. I give now the floor to Malaysia, followed by Turkey.
Madam Chair, Malaysia would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the State Party Vietnam for this approval of the extension and the renomination, which we understand that it is the outstanding, 400 million years old limestone karst ecosystem is the oldest in the Southeast Asia, and we would support this extension, and that with the strategic management plan that is including the various operational development plans would enhance the protection and conservation of the said national park for the World Heritage Community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Malaysia. Turkey, you have the floor, followed by India. Turkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We congratulate Vietnam for this nomination. It's a great place with regard to containing different terrestrial, aquatic habitats, and primeval forests. Not only these biodiverse rich characteristics, but also it is great importance for enhancing our understanding of the geological and geomorphic history of the region. We strongly support the draft decision, but also we are concerning that this increased touristic development and attraction. So the suggestion made by the advisory bodies should be well taken by the state parties in the future. So with this, I'd like to congratulate again the state parties.
Thank you, Turkey. India, followed by Senegal. India, you have.
Thank you, Chairperson. India would like to commend the State Party of Vietnam for proposing a good transboundary nomination with Lao PDR as a renomination with extension and inscription under the natural criteria 9 and 10. The PNB National Park, already inscribed under the geological criteria 8, has the world's largest cave passage in terms of diameter and contiguity, and it plays a very important role in enhancing our understanding on the geologic, geomorphic, and geochronological history of the region. The proposal now of the property's renomination under natural criteria 9 and 10 would further provide protection to 9 primate species, 7 of which are globally threatened. The property belongs to the Northern Annamites rainforest ecoregion, which, as you know, is currently a gap on the World Heritage List. And India would therefore like to compliment the State Party for plugging this gap and support the draft decision to inscribe the property on the World Heritage List. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Senegal, followed by the Republic of Korea. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, la délégation sénégalaise félicite le Vietnam pour l'extension de ce bien et compte tenu des critères évoqués et de la richesse biologique de cette extension, nous pensons que ce serait très profitable pour l'humanité tout entière et le patrimoine. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Senegal. The floor now is the Republic of Korea, followed by Philippines. Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Republic of Korea would like to commend and congratulate Vietnam for putting forward an extension to an existing nomination, Inscription, for nominating it under a different criteria, which no doubt is the result of continuous research and study on the OUV of the property and made only possible with the dedication of the state party. This case shows us how important it is to identify all necessary attributes of OUV to be reflected in a World Heritage property as it impacts the future conservation and management of the property. The geological values and the newly recognized ecological and biodiversity values of the limestone karst landscape will no doubt greatly contribute to the sound management of the property in the future. It is in this spirit that we fully support the renomination and expansion of this site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The floor is now Philippines, followed by Finland. Philippines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We commend the state party for their demonstrated commitment to inscribe the property in the World Heritage List. The property is a globally significant area for conservation of biodiversity, as it lies within a very important biodiversity hotspot and part of the endemic bird area. It captures a considerable part of the biodiversity values in terms of endemism and richness of both plant and animal species. The Philippines strongly supports the adoption of the draft decision that would extend and renominate the property to the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Finland. The floor is yours.
Madam Chair, we are very pleased with the great efforts made by the state party to address the recommendations of the World Heritage Committee regarding the integrity, protection and management of the property. Thus, Finland wishes to express its warmest congratulations to the state party of Vietnam. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Finland. Germany, you have the floor, followed by Croatia. Germany.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The nomination of Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park is an excellent example on how already inscribed sites under non-biodiversity criteria contribute to global biodiversity conservation. This renomination takes the biodiversity value into account, and we congratulate Vietnam on this important step, which can serve as a model for other states parties. Germany supports the draft decision with pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Germany. Croatia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We congratulate the State Party of Vietnam for the long-term commitment to protect and ensure proper management of the Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park and the great efforts in enlargement of the national park. It's, as my colleague ambassador of Germany said, excellent example of the extension of the World Heritage Site following the recommendation of the advisory body. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Croatia. The last three committee members on my list are Algeria, Colombia, and Kazakhstan. Algeria, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La délégation algérienne félicite l'État partie pour avoir répondu aux recommandations du comité en réalisant l'extension de ce bien extraordinaire pour garantir une préservation plus efficace de sa VUE. La délégation algérienne appuie donc l'inscription de ce bien sur la base des critères 9 et 10. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Colombia quiere unirse a las felicitaciones dadas al país parte y está de acuerdo con la propuesta de decisión. Sin embargo, quisiéramos resaltar que a pesar de que las condiciones de manejo y gobernanza del sitio son adecuadas, pueden ser mejoradas ante las presiones por cacería, madera ilegal, turismo y potenciales asentamientos, por lo cual sugerimos mantener la atención al respecto por parte del comité y de los organismos técnicos asesores. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. Kazakhstan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My delegation wants to congratulate Vietnam with the extension and the renomination of Phong Nha Bang National Park. And we believe that this nomination will promote sustainable development. We support draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. Since there are no more committee members who wish to take the floor, I will turn now to our rapporteur to present the draft decision.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. In fact, no amendments have been presented to this draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Since there are no amendments presented to the draft decision, I will now declare draft decision 39-8B6 adopted. Let me warmly congratulate Vietnam on behalf of the entire committee for the extension of this property. Vietnam, you have the floor for a brief 2-minute statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Can I, instead of saying a word of thanks, show a 2-minute video in order to invite you to Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng? That's it.
Vietnam, I am somewhat constrained to point out that since this is not in keeping with the norms of this committee, this has not been allowed.
Okay.
Therefore, I would request you to make the customary statement, which would be very welcome indeed. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Number one, on behalf of the government and the local of Vietnam, my delegation would like to express our sincere thanks to the committee members, to the consultative bodies, to everyone who have contributed to this process, especially all the scientists and the local community. Number two, we are committed to fulfill all the recommendations put forward by the committee. Number three, as someone pointed out, that can serve as a model for next nomination. We would like to stress that perhaps for developing country, this is a case of study. We started with one criteria, and after 12 years, when we are improving our management capacity, we apply for extension, and also we apply for renomination. So perhaps my suggestion to committee member that if a developing country propose a nomination, please don't put too much burden on them on the size of the property as well as on the different criteria, because that will be very difficult. Another example I also want to share that the question of communication. It was not until ABC broadcast Good Morning America, then millions and millions of the people in the world came to get an understanding better of Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng with the biggest underground chamber cave. And at the moment, we allow only 500 people per year to go to this cave. And that will, we would like to invite you one of these 500 this year. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we have now finished the natural nominations and will continue with the examination of mixed sites. We will examine one mixed nomination, which will be presented by the two advisory bodies. We are proceeding with the mixed nomination from Jamaica, Blue and John Crow Mountains, draft decision 39-8B7. I now invite the IUCN and ICOMOS to present the mixed nomination. But before that, I will give the floor to Mr. Balsamo. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to remind that we received a factual error letter on the evaluations for these nominations for the evaluation of ICOMOS and IUCN, and are to be found on page 46 and 48 of the English version of INF 8b4 and on page 52 and 54 of the French version. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Before the IUCN and ICOMOS present the nomination, may I request all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for some order. Perhaps the congratulations might take place outside the room. Thank you very much for your understanding. I will now hand over the podium to the IUCN and ICOMOS in that order to present this nomination. IUCN.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. IUCN evaluation of this property is on page 69 of the English version of the report and page 75 of the French version. Next slide, please. A larger property, Blue and John Crow Mountains National Park, was evaluated in 2011 as a mixed property, whilst noting the high potential of Jamaica to demonstrate globally significant biodiversity. The IUCN recommendation at that time did not support Inscription, and the 2011 committee decision was to defer the nomination to allow the state party to bring back an improved mixed nomination with the strongest potential for Inscription. The Blue and John Crow Mountains, located in the eastern part of Jamaica, cover approximately 20% of the island's total landmass. The nominated area represents a reduction of some 46% over the area nominated in 2011. The property, currently before the committee, is restricted to higher elevations between 850 and 2,250 meters, focusing on the more intact forest areas, the core of the national park. Next slide, please. The nominated property and parts of the buffer zone are tropical montane rainforests, much of which is cloud forest. The high elevation, rugged landscape, and the north and south-facing slopes of the mountains provide a wide variety of habitat types with 9 natural communities within the upper montane forests of the Blue and John Crow Mountains. Next slide, please. The Blue and John Crow Mountain has been nominated under natural criteria 9 and 10, as well as under cultural criteria, which have been evaluated by ICOMOS and will be presented by them in a moment. The combination of the nominated properties' restricted altitudinal ecological gradients, coupled with the fact that areas in the buffer zone are heavily altered, impedes its ability to meet criterion 9 with respect to the demonstration of unhampered ecological and biological processes. Next slide, please. The Blue and John Crow Mountains belong to the Caribbean Islands Biodiversity Hotspot and is an important center for plant endemism in the Caribbean, displaying 50% endemicity in the flowering plants, with between 30 to 40% of these species found only within the property's boundaries. One of the 2 centers of plant biodiversity in Jamaica, the property includes a reported 1,357 species of flowering plants, of which 294 are Jamaican endemics, 87 of which are found only within the property. Next, please. The nominated property is state-owned and sits within the boundaries of Jamaica's first and only national park. It thus enjoys a high standard of legal protection. Day-to-day management authority is delegated to the Jamaica Conservation and Development Trust. Next slide, please. The Blue and John Crow Mountain National Park has a well-structured 5-year management plan covering the period from 2011 to 2016. Consistent with the mixed site approach, the management plan considers both the protection of natural and cultural heritage. It notes a number of challenges relating to resource limitation and the need for improved inter-agency coordination. The monitoring and active management of threats, such as agricultural encroachment, illegal harvesting, and the spread of invasive alien species are important to protect the integrity of upper elevation system. The state party has provided an assurance that the property will be protected from mining. However, an unambiguous commitment is required that mining will not impact on the property, and legislation should be strengthened to permanently remove this threat. Next slide, please. The Maroon local communities share a strong and long-standing identity with the natural values of the site and appear to strongly support the World Heritage nomination. The integration of cultural heritage is central to the nomination and is evident in all aspects of the property's management. Next, please. In summary, IUCN recommends the committee approves the nomination of Blue and John Crow Mountains in relation to natural criteria 10. Now, Madam Chair, I would like, with your permission, to pass to ICOMOS to present the evaluation of cultural value. Thank you.
Thank you, IUCN. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The ICOMOS evaluation can be found at page 21 of the English version of the document and equally page 21 of the French version of the document. Next, please. The nominated property encompasses a rugged and densely vegetated mountainous region which offered the refuge and the resource necessary to Maroon, which were formerly enslaved person, to make a living and the associated cultural heritage. This nomination was equally deferred for its cultural aspects and particularly to strengthen the protection for the cultural heritage. The submitted revision of the revised nomination has strengthened the coherence of the original proposal from a cultural perspective. It has reduced the boundaries of the nominated property and slightly enlarged those of the buffer zone to encompass attributes of the cultural heritage of the Windward Maroons. Presently, the nominated property covers the tract of land and the secret routes, passes, and other sacred sites altogether known under the name of Nanny Town Route, related to specific events of the Windward Maroon life and struggle, and that form the core of the 1739 peace treaty signed with the British. Maroonage in Jamaica started as early as the beginning of the 16th century, with indigenized Taino population fleeing into the forest, and continuing when Moors and Africans were deported to Jamaica. Two different Maroon communities grew in Jamaica, the Leeward Maroons in the western part of the island and the Windward Maroons, who are associated to the Blue and John Crow Mountains. The property has been nominated as a place of resistance of the Windward Maroons, who, to survive in the area and to fight for their freedom, established a network of trails, hiding places, settlement, hunting, gathering places. The Nanny Town route with its element represents the spiritual, memorial, and sovereign center of the tangible heritage and the living tradition of the Windward Maroons. The cultural significance of the natural environment resides in Maroons' use of the unique vegetation and animal life born out of the site's outstanding natural conditions to develop defense and combat strategies to obtain their autonomy. Intangible heritage adds significance to the property, and it covers traditional knowledge and practices associated to the use of natural resources, languages, religious practices, and traditional management systems, but also outstanding expressions such as the Cromanti play or the Maroon heritage of Moortown, which has been inscribed on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2008. Since the first submission, protection of the cultural heritage has advanced significantly. In January 2014, the entire nominated area has been designated Protected Natural Heritage under the Jamaica National Heritage Trust Act, along with related satellite site. These important achievements need support, And the State Party has prepared a 3-year joint work plan to address current conservation, protection, and management issues. Since 2011, the management of the cultural aspects of the property has significantly improved. However, this process needs to be sustained, and the implementation of the 3-work plan is crucial in this regard. Major factors affecting the cultural attributes of the property are related to changes in the socio-cultural profile, which may weaken the linkages between the Maroon community and their heritage, in addition to deforestation, pesticides, and the mining issue that has been quoted by my colleague from IUCN. Following the revision of the nomination, ICOMOS considers that integrity and authenticity are met, although fragile. The comparative analysis, despite certain weaknesses, justified consideration of the property for the World Heritage List under the proposed criteria 3 and 6. The boundaries of the nominated property are adequate to illustrate the proposed outstanding universal values, and the enlarged buffer zone functionally contributes to this representation. Protection, you have heard, has improved, although implementation needs sustenance, and conservation and management need adequate resources and strong coordination. In the light of the values of the property, the commitment and the substantial work made by the State Party to meet the committee's requirements, ICOMOS and IUCN both recommend the inscription of the natural and cultural heritage of the Blue and John Crow Mountains under cultural criterion 3, 6, and criterion 10. And the distinguished delegates can find the draft decision at page 10 of the document. Ancillary recommendations included there are meant to sustain the management efforts of the Jamaican authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, ICOMOS. The floor is now open to the committee members. Philippines, followed by Japan and Finland. Philippines, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The Philippine State Party celebrates this first inscription to the World Heritage List of State Party Jamaica. The Blue and John Crow Mountains, a mixed natural and cultural heritage site. We should commend them particularly for the enduring practices that embrace this beautiful landscape, which has been enshrined in the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. As the effort undertaken by the State Party is really noteworthy to revise the 2010 nomination dossier that exemplified its commitment to the conservation and management of the property. As a cultural site, the Nanitown Heritage Route threads settlements, trails, viewpoints, hiding places that cherish the memory, identity, and continuity of the people. As a natural heritage site, the park has an exceptional floral and faunal diversity, high degree of endemism, and highly vulnerable biodata. This site is a living testimony to the indissoluble relation of culture and natural heritage in many cultures of the world. And it tells how the valuable narratives of our heritage mean and inspire the next generations. Thank you very much, Jamaica, and congratulations.
Thank you, Philippines. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Japan would like to congratulate and thank you to the State Party of Jamaica for re-nominating this important site after the failure decision by the committee 2011. The importance of this site is no doubt. It is connected to the plight of people of Jamaica and to its region and to the whole world. It is also important for the convention itself, because this is a mixed site and obviously improve representativity of the list of the World Heritage. Since this site is broad, not only in size, but also in its various aspects of natural and cultural values, we understand that the committee and advisory bodies should provide assistance for long-term conservation efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. Finland, the floor is yours, followed by Germany. Finland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finland would like to congratulate the State Party of Jamaica for the nomination file and the IUCN for the careful evaluation. Just recently, I had the pleasure to spend several days in and around this outstanding property. The value of the site is clearly indicated by some large intact forests and the healthy populations of many endemic species, as well as the fascinating maroon culture. There is also a strong commitment to protect the property expressed by the local farmers and other stakeholders, including the maroon community. Even though the management system is quite complex, it seems to work well in practice. Thus, Finland wishes to express its warmest congratulations to the State Party of Jamaica. We are pleased with the efforts taken by the State Party to address the previous recommendations of the World Heritage Committee. We are well aware of that the nomination process has taken a long time, but it has led to a solid nomination with the impressive documentation of the site that will give a good basis for the future management and protection measures. The Blue and John Crow Mountains is an excellent example of mixed World Heritage sites. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Germany, followed by Turkey. Germany.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Germany congratulates Jamaica for having brought forward an excellent nomination on an exceptional mixed property covering 20% of the island's landmass. Noting the complexity of mixed nominations, Germany welcomes the efforts of the States Party to recognize the role of civil society and the local communities in the management of the property, as it had been recommended by the advisory bodies and the committee when the site was deferred in 2011. This nomination demonstrates that the deferrer option is a very useful instrument which leads to stronger nominations and thus better recognition of natural and cultural values in a nomination. The Blue and John Crow Mountains is an excellent case for a successful mixed nomination. We would like to see more of these. Congratulations, Jamaica.
Thank you, Germany. The Ambassador of Turkey has the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, from Turkey, I would like to thank Jamaica, the State Party, for this submission of this impressive and rich nomination dossier. I would like to also underline a couple of points. It has justified the criteria and meets with the condition of the authenticity and integrity. Turkey supports the draft decision of the advisory body and would like to underline the communication among the State Party, World Heritage Center and advisory bodies, which demonstrate a very good example of improved dialogue and communication. We also believe that inscription of the nominated property will sustain the process of the global strategy to achieve a representative, balanced, and credible World Heritage List, as this specific type of cultural heritage remains underrepresented on the list. Congratulations, Jamaica.
Thank you, Turkey. Malaysia, you have the floor, followed by Senegal. Malaysia.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. My delegation will be brief. We just would like to take this opportunity to also congratulate the State Party Jamaica for this inscription of the Blue and John Crow Mountain on the World Heritage List. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Malaysia. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Sénégal adresse ses chaleureuses félicitations à la Jamaïque pour cette première inscription qui conforte la qualité de la représentativité de la Jamaïque dans le cadre de la Convention. Mieux, c'est un site mixte qui nous présente des valeurs culturelles exceptionnelles, déjà reconnues au niveau de la Convention 2003. Et aujourd'hui, cette inscription mixte est un plus à la liste du patrimoine mondial. En plus, l'État a déjà mis en place des mesures assez efficaces, juridiques, institutionnelles, qui permettent de garantir la gestion future de ce site. Bravo à la Jamaïque et merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Senegal. Republic of Korea, followed by India. Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Republic of Korea would like to commend Jamaica for compiling all the scientific data needed for the completion of the nomination, addressing both natural and cultural values. We think this is an exceptional case which clearly shows the positive impact of a deferral decision of the committee, where the potentials of the property has been strenuously pursued with great success. And especially so because the efforts demonstrated by the State Party of Jamaica is now seeing great results as having the site being inscribed as the first World Heritage and as a mixed site. We would just also like to point out that it is interesting to note that in the request of the advisory bodies, they have requested to integrate the interpretation and presentation of satellite sites of maroon heritage located outside of the property. The Republic of Korea feels that although we sit here within the arena of the World Heritage Convention, we also place importance on the diverse cultural and natural values recognized within the regional and national level. It is always important to recognize that these values and sites which are connected to a certain property could extend the scope of a World Heritage nomination, and to indicate that such a connection exists will greatly help to appreciate and understand the values of a particular site. The connectivity and linkages of these sites in order to understand the full history of the cultural context are very, very important. We would like to display our full support to the Jamaican government and endorse the inscription of this site on the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Korea. India, followed by Vietnam. India.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India would like to congratulate the State Party of Jamaica for nominating what is considered as one of the 78 most irreplaceable protected areas for the conservation of world's amphibian, bird, and mammal species. India also appreciates the commitment given by the State Party to protect the area from mining, and would like to welcome the inscription under criteria 10. Thank you very much.
Thank you, India. Vietnam, you have the floor, followed by Portugal. Vietnam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Vietnamese delegation is particularly happy and delighted and to congratulate Jamaica for its first ever successful nomination. I think there are a number of things we can draw from this nomination. For Vietnam, number one, deferral is not a punishment. Number two, this is also a nice example of how different conventions on culture in UNESCO can cooperate together. Because this nomination bears exceptional witness to the windward Maroon culture, which in the search for freedom from colonial enslavement, develop a profound knowledge of and attachment to the environment, and thus sustain and help them to achieve autonomy and recognition. It also conveys an understandingly its association with living tradition, idea, and belief, the specificity and uniqueness of which was recognized by UNESCO in 2008 through its inscription in the representative list of intangible heritage. So, our delegation would like to congratulate Jamaica for what we call triple crown achievement. A mix on culture, on natural, and on intangible heritage. Bravo, Jamaica. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much to Vietnam, the ambassador of Portugal now.
Thank you, Madam President. Like others, we heartily congratulate Jamaica for the well-succeeded revision of this outstanding mixed nomination and for this first Jamaican inscription in the heritage list. Portugal is well aware of the difficulties in comprehensively congregating cultural and natural values, and especially the challenges posed by the management of these complex properties. In this case, there is no doubt that the Blue and John Crown Mountains have outstanding natural value, which can only be thoroughly understood, preserved, and safeguarded with the support and intervention of local communities whose history and identity is intimately intertwined with this site. We therefore commend the State Party for the nomination process, and especially for the well-succeeded efforts to include civil society and local communities in this process, and for the management activities proposed. Congratulations, Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Croatia, followed by Colombia. Croatia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Croatia would like to congratulate to Jamaica, its people and experts involved in this candidature for all the efforts put in management and safeguarding of this mixed site. Blue and John Crown Mountains are outstanding examples of natural and cultural heritage, but are also strongly embodied in intangible and living traditions of Jamaican history and people. Altogether, we see a holistic approach to culture, and we are very happy and celebrate with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colombia, you have the floor.
Colombia se muestra de acuerdo con la inscripción y felicita a Jamaica por el valor universal excepcional de este sitio, que es el primero de este país inscrito en la lista de Patrimonio Mundial y el único inscrito como mixto en este comité. El análisis comparativo, la información sobre manejo y gobernanza, el relacionamiento y protección con las comunidades étnicas cimarrones y sus valores asociados a la tierra son suficientemente robustos. Tradiciones que ya fueron proclamadas por la UNESCO en 2003 e inscritas en 2008 en la lista representativa del Patrimonio Mundial Inmaterial, y que en este caso particular hacen alusión a la comunidad de cimarrones que se estableció en las Montañas Azules y en los montes John Crow. En consecuencia, Colombia ha enviado una enmienda al proyecto de decisión con el propósito de reforzar la importancia de la cultura cimarrón en Jamaica y el Caribe. Finalmente, avalamos la decisión de incluir el sitio dentro de la lista de Patrimonio Mundial, aunque invitamos al Estado parte a reevaluar el estatus de protección y medidas efectivas de control en la reserva forestal del área de amortiguamiento, así como de enviar lo antes posible la evaluación de impacto ambiental solicitada sobre los proyectos de minería y de explotación de bauxita, entre otras presiones en el área adyacente al sitio nominado. Felicitaciones, Jamaica. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Lebanon, followed by Kazakhstan. Lebanon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After a long and fruitful process, Jamaica is arriving to the happy ending for the outstanding mixed site of Blue and John Crow Mountains. And I am sure they inspired Bob Marley somewhere. So congratulations, Jamaica.
Thank you, Lebanon. Kazakhstan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We sincerely congratulate Jamaica with this first nomination to the World Heritage List. The cultural and the natural heritage of the Blue and the John Crow Mountains is an exceptional example which should be preserved for future generations, and we support decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Serbia, followed by Algeria. Serbia.
Thank you. Serbia also congratulates Jamaica on a high-quality nomination files. We concur with previous speakers that this site is an excellent example of mixed sites, whose value is very well documented in the evaluation of the advisory bodies. Serbia therefore fully supports the inscription of the Blue and John Crow Mountains on the World Heritage List, and we are particularly happy to see that this is the first Jamaican site to be included on the World Heritage List. So it will be an important, I would say, contribution to the better representativity of the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you, Serbia. Algeria, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La délégation algérienne soutient l'inscription de ce bien et félicite l'État partie, la Jamaïque, qui offre cette première inscription au monde. Nous les félicitons pour l'excellent dossier qui rend bien compte de la collaboration avec les organisations consultatives. C'est un bel exemple de collaboration qui nous donne aujourd'hui, c'est comme un présent qui nous est offert d'une extraordinaire beauté qui concilie entre culture et nature et qui sont, de notre point de vue, indissociables. Nous les félicitons encore. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Algeria. Poland, followed by Peru. Poland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Poland supports the inscription of the Blue and John Crow Mountains on the World Heritage List. We would like to use this opportunity to congratulate Jamaica for this first inscription into the list. of the World Heritage. And at the same time, we would like to stress the importance of intangible aspect of this nomination, which goes along with the recent trends observed in the heritage protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Poland. Peru is the last committee member on my list. You have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Al ser el último país que hace el uso de la palabra en la consideración de este tema, voy a ser breve porque el Perú hace suyas todas las expresiones y declaraciones respecto del mérito de esta nominación. Felicitamos a los órganos consultativos por el desarrollo que han hecho para fundamentar el valor universal excepcional con base a los criterios 3, 6 y 10. Felicitamos a Jamaica por esta nominación, por la manera rigurosa con la que se ha preparado el expediente, y respaldamos la iniciativa de Colombia para remarcar en el texto de decisión la cultura de cimarrones. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you, Peru. I will now turn to our rapporteur to present the draft decision.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In fact, Colombia has presented an amendment to this draft decision. Paragraph 3, criterion number 3. Then it would become, so, to bear exceptional witness to, added by Colombia, the phenomenon of grand marronage as characterized by windward maroon culture, which, etc. That has been the only amendment and proposed by Colombia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will now move to the adoption of Draft Decision 39-8B7. The draft decision is hereby adopted. Let me congratulate Jamaica very warmly on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property, their very first on the World Heritage List. Jamaica, you have the floor for a brief 2-minute statement, and I'm delighted here to welcome the Minister in our midst. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I speak on behalf of the government and people of Jamaica in humbly expressing our gratitude to the World Heritage Committee for its decision to inscribe the Blue and John Crow Mountains to the World Heritage List. This inscription represents the first World Heritage Site for Jamaica and the first mixed site for the Caribbean sub-region. This has been quite a journey for us as a country. The experience has taught us many things. Among them, we have learned to appreciate our distinctive natural and cultural heritage even more. You see, Madam Chairman, there's a natural mystic that belies who we are as a country and as a people. A small nation with unabashed resolve and courage, giving to the world the king of reggae music, Bob Marley, jerk chicken, and the fastest man on land, and the fastest woman, Usain Bolt and Shelley Ann Fraser Price. Our history in particular, the struggles and defiance of our Maroon people, has helped to mold us into being distinctly Jamaican. To this end, we want the world not only to drink our Blue Mountain coffee, but to see the outstanding universal value of the Blue and John Crow Mountains, a site that the world can embrace as its own, exhibiting the natural and cultural values, which will give an understanding of our Jamaicanness. We respect the World Heritage Committee and recommit our obligations to uphold the tenets on which the World Heritage Convention was developed. We will ensure that the OUV, the integrity and the authenticity of this site are maintained not only for Jamaica and Jamaicans, but for the peoples of the world. We're equally conscious that maintaining a site such as this one requires additional financial resources and management. And my government understands and appreciates this, and we have given the assurances for these requirements to be in place. That said, we wish to emphasize that there are 5 pieces of legal legislation and legal protection of the property that's already in place to ensure that, among other issues, no mining, prospecting licenses, and other operations will be permitted in the nominating area. The ministries of science, technology, energy, mining and water, land and environment, and climate change and tourism are working with my ministry to ensure that these commitments are maintained. The fact is that we are aware and again extremely humbled that as the first mixed site in the region, much is expected from us. Madam Chair, I'm heartened by the strategic objectives of the World Heritage Convention, the 5 Cs, that have guided this convention and to which we have been held accountable as unofficial custodians of our respective heritages and those of the world in general. We are especially appreciative of UNESCO's push to enhance the role of communities in the implementation of World Heritage Convention, and specifically their presence and participation in the management of World Heritage sites. Our communities are at the heart of everything that we do as a country. It is for this reason, Madam Chair, that I ask for your indulgence in allowing the floor to Colonel Wallace Sterling, who is here with me, the Maroon Chief in Moortown, one of our indigenous communities located in the site. In closing, please allow me a moment to express my sincere thanks to our friends and colleagues who have been nothing less than supportive and encouraging through this process. First, to the members of the World Heritage Committee, thank you, both past and present. To the staff of the World Heritage Center, headed by Mr. Rao. Mr. Rao, you've been the gentle giant in these settings such as this, a motivator to many of us in that process, which can be arduous. Thank you so much, sir. My heartfelt thanks to the advisory bodies, ICOMOS and IUCN, for their professional oversight of the evaluation process, their patience and general guidance provided to our technical team. I must express gratitude to the governments and people of Latin America and the Caribbean who have supported Jamaica in building its presence in World Heritage. And finally, to my Jamaican technical team that led this process from the Ministry of Youth and Culture and our agencies. With me today, Deborah K. Palmer, Dorrit Gray, Susan Otungton, Tracy Cammock, Colonel Wallace Sterling, Janice Lindsay, my permanent secretary, Mrs. Cheryl Regia Angus, and many of you know Ambassador Vilma McNeish. And to all other stakeholders within and outside Jamaica, thank you for getting us here. Madam Chair, we will remain resolute as members of the World Heritage Committee to uphold the tenets of the Convention and to serve the interests of small island developing states in World Heritage. Thank you once again, and we look forward to your company on July 5th as we proudly present to you the natural and cultural heritage of Jamaica and the Caribbean. One love, one heart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on that high and happy note, the floor is now given to...
Okay, Madam Chair, colleagues, I bring you greetings from the people of Jamaica and the Maroon communities in particular. I am certain you will understand that we are extremely pleased with the inscription. For us, this is a statement about the value the world places on the indigenous culture of the world, our customs and traditions that are embedded in the Maroon heritage. We know our ancestors are looking down on this moment, very proud that this universal prestige is being given to us, in part because they were selfless, committed, strong, cunning, resourceful persons who found indigenous ways to dismantle a system that blighted peoples of the region. Their effort to put an end to one of the darkest periods of our history are what we acknowledge and celebrate as Maroon today. Importantly, we hail the legacy passed on to us by our ancestors. They have helped to shape our identity of self and community. The Blue and Jankro Mountain is a place where we call home, the land where the mountains are tall, rugged, and wild. Which man does not take care of his castle? We will continue as we have always done, so to do fearlessly and unapologetically, fiercely protect the boundaries of our homes, and we will protect the treasures of our home. We will protect the distinctive assets of our home. We will herald the traditional principles that are the soul of our home. The Blue and Jankro Mountain will be a place that we rest that the rest of the world can come and visit at any time and feel safe and proud that it is a true representation of the site of outstanding universal value. In the name of our national hero and leader, Queen Nanny, we commit to protecting the Blue and Janko Mountain on behalf of the people of this world. And I would say, in the traditional way of our people, I want to say to you all, Medasi, thank you 1,000 times for being respectful of us and being mindful and being so generous to our integrity. Thank you once more.
Thank you very much. And on that high and happy note, we may break for lunch, but not before one announcement from the Secretariat.
Thank you, Mrs. Chairperson. I would just like to remind the committee members and the state parties that the two working groups will continue their works. The operational guidelines working group will meet in the same room, in the Bonn room, starting from 1. Theoretically to 2 o'clock, and the budget working group will meet in the Berlin room at 2 o'clock. I would like also to announce a side event which will take place in the plenary room during the lunch break, which is on the 25th anniversary of the inscription of the first Russian sites on the World Heritage List of UNESCO. And this side event will start at 1:30 until 2:30. There are also some other side events which list is on the screen. I would just quickly announce some of them. The title, the first one is Heritage and Arts Education as Education for Sustainable Development. The second is Resilient Cities and UNESCO's Cooperation for Disaster Risk Reduction. The third one is on IUCN World Heritage Outlook. And the fourth one is Nature and Cultural Linkages in World Heritage Sites. I think the rest of the information are displayed on the room. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
We will meet again at 3 p.m.